back at it again with the Not Truly Aggressive podcast, episode number 13. Lucky number 13. Because this is the first time that we've ever had guests on the program. And we're going to see how that fucking goes. All right. But if you guys want to introduce yourselves, let it rip.
Yeah, so Bethany and Libby, Behaviorist is our company. We've got a GRC club as well, Jurassic GRC, which is sports, which I think you're into, aren't you, Kimberli?
A little bit. I kind of I started a club, but then ended up basically passing it off to other people because it was too much on my plate. But but yeah, it's a cool sport. I like the sport for sure. So
yeah, we love it. See, I've been training dogs, although now I don't even feel like I'm saying it. But I've been training dogs for about 18 years.
Sorry. Yeah, keep going. So GRC, you've been training dogs for almost 2 decades, which is kind of crazy.
Yeah, I'm not as long. I'm about nearly 5 years. Well, how I mean that 4.5
with your own
with
dog,
my own
but
dog.
Professionally, like 2.5 years.
Yeah.
So Libby was a client of mine, and I just saw too much potential in her, and I was like, "Come aboard." And then I basically said, "Come aboard," and then I abandoned her and went and worked in rescue again because rescue is where I started. I've worked with like massive rescues in the UK and also slightly smaller rescues, but rescue is very close to my heart. So when an opportunity came to go and work in a more senior position within a rescue, I took it and then said, "See you later, Libby." And she is like, I don't have enough good stuff to say about Libby because what I've learned in 2 decades, she just learns in like a year, but like a decade per year.
So mental, mate.
Well, that probably helped initially, but then I learned from her now. So she's just got one of those such neurodivergent brains that just soaks in information and hyperfixates, and that kind of through Libby is how things are learning about Dylan. Because Dylan has been a hyperfixation of Libby for a while now. But I guess the reason we're here is that we started off very force-free.
Yes.
And have kind of moved at quite a fast pace towards not being considered very force-free.
I skipped all the kind of typical middle stages of that.
Yeah, we skipped through Lima and went.
That's good. That's good.
Yeah.
Yeah. So for sure, like the dog training side is really cool. And like, I know Kim does too. I love talking to dog trainers, but there is a very specific reason why your scenario is so interesting. And your perspective is actually just like the reason you're on the show is because I actually cannot think of another set of human beings that has the perspective that you have. Basically, you're like unicorns in that you were not force-free, but like embedded in it, like truly like living it.
and
like
in rescue, yeah,
right,
specifically,
right.
yeah.
So you were like deep into that world, and to not only step away, but then to publicly take on sort of calling it the opposite side is like underselling it because it's almost like religious warfare at this point. It's like almost like you're blasphemers, but to switch sides and also publicly make that known is extremely rare. Like, actually, I can't think of other people that are like vocal about that type of deal. So that's just like super interesting. And Kim and I were talking before you guys came on. It's just like, it's almost hard. Like, there are so many questions like that we want to know about that perspective because it's just, I don't know. Like, Kim, do you know any turncoats that are like actually just like out there like talking about it?
No.
You know what I mean? It's because everyone's afraid their friends are going to kill them or something. Well, actually,
I mean, there's real social pressure against it for sure. Like, you're swimming against the stream. So
yeah, and we don't even need to speculate. We can literally ask you: was that something that was a consideration for you when you were starting to dabble in the dark arts? Were you worried about what people were going to respond with?
We were worried. I don't think it was like a consideration in terms of shall we, shan't we. I think that's just, there's just no way that we could be that inauthentic. So it was like we just had this build up where we just knew it was coming, and we knew what the fallout was going to be, and it was that, to be honest. But kind of the thought of it was like worse than it actually was in a way. Like there was also just a massive sense of relief, because obviously it was kind of like a slow burn. Like we just started posting stuff on our stories. A couple of like really eagle-eyed people would ask, and we would obviously say, yeah. Anybody that knew us like in person, clients and stuff, we were like transparent with. And then, yeah, we were like, okay, rather than just like drip feeding this, like we're going to have to do this like really weird, like coming out thing.
Yeah.
Which I think is like a bit like, in a way, like if we'd have had a smaller platform, like it probably wouldn't have been maybe something we would have done. And we haven't got like a huge platform, but like enough that
you were known within the community
around, and
people would notice. Yeah, for sure. Yeah.
How long was that time frame where you both were looking at each other and you were like, no, this is going this direction, but you hadn't formally broadcasted it yet? Were you guys sitting on that for a while you were trying to, or was it like bang bang?
It wasn't like bang, but it was like I used tools with my own dog in like April, and then it was like summer, probably when we started doing board and train, that we were, and then it was like summer, so what we're talking like 6 months ago, where we started doing board and trains, and obviously we're open with the clients. I mean, particularly because of the dogs that we were taking, we knew that this would be the right like choice for them, and at that point it was just like primarily really e-collar for reliable recall, wasn't it? Which I think is like quite a normal like entry point, and that was really what I had used it for with my dog. But I was obviously following Dylan, and I was like, he's doing stuff that like I'm just not really seeing elsewhere. And I think safe to say you were cynical at first, like, oh, he's probably just another like male trainer, like that's not doing that much different to anything. And I'm like, no, you've got to watch some stuff. But for me, particularly, it was like seeing the dogs like afterwards and being like, at some point, I've got to like trust what the dogs are telling me. Like the dogs look really, really good, and that was it for me. And that was the bit I was just like, and I found it really hard to watch because again, it's like e-collar for recall is one thing, but then actually seeing
full on punishment,
all of that. And I was like, it was like a car crash. And I was just like, you're obviously not a car crash, but you know what I mean? It's like watching, like, I was like, oh God. I was like, keep watching, like, watch the follow-ups. And then you see, like, later the dogs and everything like that. So I slowly wore Bethany down. And then, we started taking born and trained dogs, obviously mainly for recall. And then really, I think, when did we do, like, then we started posting as normal, really, but just on stories and stuff. And then we did, like, a podcast, like,
I obviously left.
She had to leave rescue because obviously aligned.
But I feel like I've always been a slight outlier.
Yeah,
I wouldn't say I was like I'm open-minded. I see the grey in a lot of things. I see nuance in things, and it never sat well with me being super force-free, fluffy, particularly with the rescue dogs. But I think I kind of was more radicalized by seeing force-free people doing their thing than I was by balanced people. Just seeing how ineffective. I mean, there's ineffective trainers everywhere, and there is. But when you're in rescue and things are on a time scale, for me, seeing a dog who didn't want to go back to kennels, being kind of chucked food around, following whichever direction it wanted to go in for 45 minutes, for it to still not want to go back to its kennel, but they haven't put any lead pressure on. For me, that felt far less ethical than being like, right, come on, mate, just a little bit of lead pressure, even if it's quite a lot of lead pressure, getting them back to the kennels within 2 minutes. For me, that was kinder. So I
a lot of people didn't like me, even from within force-free stuff. So I wasn't ever like, well, I guess I like the odd snuffle mat. I wasn't like dead set on it.
Not like about
No, and I like Jay Jack has probably been the single most influential person in my whole journey. And I first heard about him probably about 5-6 years ago.
Yeah, because that was my question a little bit too, is like, Libby, you obviously mentioned Dylan and seeing his videos, but when did the seed start getting planted, or like who were you watching at the time, or kind of like, I'm curious about what sort of was the like, not like wake up call, because it usually isn't that abrupt, but like what started kind of the trajectory down that path of like, okay, I need to learn what's going on with what these people are doing and that sort of thing.
There were a few.
Yeah.
So I think probably listening to Ivan's podcast and Jay. But yeah, so Jay, I saw him in real life and I think he just spoke in such a way that I'd never really heard anyone speak. And particularly because he comes from bull breeds, and bull breeds are my heart. Like, I would never be without one. They're just the dogs that I love. And particularly within rescue, when I started in rescue, it was like there was a massive staffy boom. So there were just bull breeds everywhere, and lots of people were frightened of them. People didn't understand them. I quite like getting mouthed by dogs. I find it fun.
Don't like getting licked, though.
I don't like getting licked. No, don't saliva on my face, but they can use their teeth. That's fine.
I feel that.
Yeah, so I liked the dogs that everybody else, not everybody else, but a lot of people didn't like. So they knew, like people knew if there was a bull breed that came in with a bite history, that was my dog. And I ended up loving, I love dogs. I love them so deeply that I would always choose the dogs to be like my project dogs that were going to get put to sleep. So like I've had my heart broken time and time and time again in rescue because I started when I was 18. Nobody would listen. People didn't listen to me. I'm 30. How old am I now? 34?
I'm 36. You must be
34. So yeah, farewell. And yeah, so I just had my heart broken a bunch of times, and all I wanted was to learn more to help the dogs that I loved. And then, yeah, Jay, I think the way that he explained layered stress model and windows just gave life to something that I think I had considered but didn't have the way to explain in the same way that he does. He just has such a way with words. So it helped me then be able to help clients. So that was, yeah, kind of a big moment. And then I went to, I'm a curious person. And like I said, I want to know if I'm going to argue against something, I want to understand it. So I went to watch a friend of ours who's a balance trainer in TRC world. I went to watch her e-collar train a really nervous dog. It was like low-level conditioning, like Larry Crone style. And there was nothing that made me feel uncomfortable. And I was expecting to feel very uncomfortable. So I was like, if I'm gonna hate something, I have to fully understand it. So like I'm not really like a political person because I don't have the time or the energy to get into understand everything to have an actually formed opinion. If I'm interested in something, I want to know all about everything that I can about it to have informed opinion. So even at the time I was like, okay, that's cool for you, but I would never do that myself because I just don't feel the need. It's not something that I felt like I needed to do. And just didn't really understand it. Felt like you could get everywhere you needed to positively, and I didn't want to hurt animals because like I've been a vegetarian since I was like 6. I used to, before I had a dog, I would hug lampposts because I had so much love to give. I had to give it to something. So when I was very young, I would like hug inanimate objects or had stuffed toys. Like I have to love things. So like I never wanted to hurt animals, and that was a big part of why I didn't think I would ever be a balance trainer. So yeah, from there,
I have like 30 things I want to respond to, and I'm going to try to show restraint. So, okay. God, I just want to go crazy. I'm not going to. I'm not going to. All right. So you said something earlier that made my heart start racing, in a bad way. You were like, yeah, I don't think it's humane to take 45 minutes to try to get a dog back in his kennel, because I won't just like make him do it, right? And you're, of course, in the context of being in a building that is full of kennels with a bunch of dogs that need to be attended to with limited manpower, so on and so forth. So when I tell people about those things, they call me a liar. But I know you're being serious. Like, I know you're being fucking serious about there were trainers taking, yes, there are trainers. It's not the worst thing that happens, but it's still like insane, right? Like, so I guess my question is, do you have people, because you are genuinely in a serious seat of authority when it comes to experience on this? If you were to say that, be like, yo, guys, I don't think that's okay. Here's why. It should be obvious to anyone with a brain. Do you have people say that you're being exaggerating or that you're making shit up? Or does anyone doubt you when you talk about those types of things?
I guess I haven't really spoken much about this before, so I don't know.
Yeah.
Within rescue, I was asked by centre managers sometimes to do courses on, or like talks on how to use lead pressure and that it's okay to do this, but it just within the community, you'd get certain people that would feel like that was very unfair to even suggest that we force dogs to do anything. But I mean, that's fairly minor in terms of the things that I now, like, obviously I now carry a lot of guilt over the dogs that I could have helped far more than I did. In a way, I'm still pragmatic in the sense that I can think I would never have been able to help them in the way that I could now anyway, because it was within a system, and it just
it's a huge organization.
Yeah, yeah. No, I think that's not to like get off too much on this, but like I think it's almost like that aspect of feeling stuck in a box and like, oh, I could do more, but I'm constrained by this particular societal construct or whatever it is. Like that is probably one of the most difficult things to sort of process. It's just like almost that, it's not like cognitive dissonance exactly, but like honestly it's pretty underrated, that like that difficulty of kind of playing the game, or like having to have played the game and reconciling that is it's definitely really challenging. Like I've not had that experience in rescue, but like for sure with, you know, the version of me a year ago or 2 years ago or 10 years ago, and being like, oh, I know better now, and there is a lot of guilt about not being able to do better. And like you can look at like, oh, of course I couldn't, it was the best I could do at the time, but like that is definitely, that's difficult. Like that's pretty heavy, but yeah.
I like I'll have to try hard not to cry.
Yeah, no, for real.
Too deep into it, but
yep.
When I've been in it for as long as I have, and the kind of places that I've worked,
yeah, and you care deeply enough that it affects
I care
you.
a lot.
Yeah.
But there's a lot of dogs that have died because, and some of that I stand by, and some of it I don't. Some of it at the time I really disagreed with, some of it I didn't. Like it's a nuanced thing, and I appreciate the episode that you did on behavioral euthanasia, because like I could feel incredibly guilty if all I was hearing was, no, these rescue dogs, you should have saved them, you were force free and you could have saved all these dogs. But actually it's kind of beyond that a little bit. And in terms of like the operational side of things, it's
one individual can only do so much at the end of the day, which sucks, but
I could have
I could have done a lot. And so that's kind of what pushes me now to actually want to talk about why I've changed, is because like I think that there should be change. There should be more things tried. I don't think that it's okay for dogs to have died because we've told them, because we won't tell them they can't do something. There are so many dogs that were good dogs that if I'd have said you can't do that, probably once or twice, they'd be absolutely fine. And dogs would fester in kennels for years because they couldn't be told to do that.
So the thing about rescue and dog shelters that I think is the most infuriating to me in terms of sort of like the culture surrounding it, but is sort of this overwhelming sense that everyone knows everything is bad. Like everyone, right? Except for a handful of people, largely force-free advocates. They're totally happy with how things are going. But especially on the balance side, it's just, that's the way it is. It's just always been like that. Dogs are failed. Places are run horribly. The people in charge don't know anything about dog behavior. Dogs are getting placed in homes they shouldn't be in. Dogs are suffering and dying for no reason. There's sort of just this acceptance of defeat on that front, on the balance side, that drives me up a wall. I can't understand how you could just, like what you're explaining, you're like, well, no, like we should try to do better. That just seems obvious to me, to anyone that cares about dogs. And I get that rescue, like you're explaining things that are genuinely like traumatic, and you know better than literally anyone that I've ever talked to about the subject, having only done this like a few years myself, been involved. It's genuinely like soul crushing. Like you get hurt, you know what I mean? So I understand that, but how I can't meet people at this level where it's just like, oh well, like something will happen with a rescue that'll do something flagrantly against a dog's interest. And then a balance trainer will say to me, what were you expecting, dude? It's rescue. Well, that's not okay. That's not fucking okay, dude. Why? I don't even know where, like, it's just, I had to say that because I've had some people recently give me that attitude. And I think that is just a defeatist. Like, I just think you don't care about dogs if you're not at least vocally trying to challenge the status quo.
Well, and like,
You know what I'm
what's
saying?
the pain for at that point? You know, like if you
Right.
don't turn your pain into some form of progress or attempt to change, like even like I was having a conversation with someone that was like completely unrelated, but it's like we were talking about how we know that our actions will not change this thing, like hands down, nothing's going to change, but you have to try. Like, not for even though I know it's futile, like I have to say the thing or do the thing to say at least I tried and now I can sleep at night. And like that at least sort of absolves, or at least like turns the pain into something purposeful. And it is a weird, I think people do just literally get crushed and heartbroken and they're like, well, I'm just like learned helplessness, whatever you want to call it, and just stop trying, which is very sad, but like that's a big topic. Sure,
yeah, so you saw that.
The
so
mental
you
health
saw
side
that.
of things, but yeah.
You saw that and you were like, I'm gonna get better at training dogs, dude. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I've got every course, but I listened to every podcast I possibly could. I did every course that I could, and like you've kind of enlightened, there's not a lot of dog there's not a lot of dog content. So where I was trying to learn more, like I did that, not the full course, but I found that quite helpful in actually within a rescue, which is a really controlled environment, being able to introduce new dogs to each other. So I liked anything that was practically applicable. I did a degree in canine behavior,
that is absolutely not worth the paper it's written on. Like, I there is absolutely nothing that I learned in a canine behavior course that would be actually applicable,
or that you use,
that I would use now. I guess in that there was an element of being able to like critically read scientific papers slightly better.
Yep. But you could have learned that from just like a basic science course as well.
I was going to say, my degree taught me that, and it wasn't
right. Yeah. Like I learned that in Psych 101.
It was awful. So I learned nothing from that. I did positive only courses, which I'm now obviously banned from. I have to remove
so many emails. Remove our old website.
Wait, you really get excommunicated like that? They won't even let you interact with the.
My laptop was done, so I currently can't take down my old website. So I might be being sent to trading standards for the fact that one of these courses logos is on my old website that I can't get into. So yeah, I'm excommunicated. I was excommunicated from a group that I was like a founding ambassador for, and helped mentor other trainers. I was banned from that one.
The muzzle company that we
we
had a discount code for. We obviously primarily work with bull breeds. It's recently been a XL bully ban in the UK, and we think that we still refer everybody because they are the best muzzles. But yeah, they just silently took our discount code down, stopped following us on Instagram.
I've had actual. I mean, I would say you had more kind of a balanced group of friends in terms of dog training. Like, also we have each other. We are fairly codependent. So I don't think I'd have been brave enough or even taken the step to properly push myself out of my comfort zone without Libby. But I've lost actual friends over just using e-collars for recall, let alone punishment. So yeah, I've lost real people, but I tried to do all the courses. I tried to do everything. I've just reached a point where I was like, there is nothing new. I can't learn any new information. And that's when I found Jack, and it just was like, wow, there's actually a whole nother world of dog stuff that I can get stuck into. And it just,
kind of like reignited your practice. You were getting a little bit stubborn, weren't you? Like,
I was just like, there's got to be more.
So what do you think it is? It could be about the way that maybe Jay's work was presented. It could be something that you evaluate about your own personality. At that point, this is where I have serious problems. At that point, when you're presented with something different, right? Potentially better, maybe just objectively better, right? In this case, you're curious about how Jay's going to train, right? What do you think it happened there for you to take the step in versus what I see on like a regular basis, which is people getting deflected off of the information? And I'm talking about people by the thousands seeing happy dogs and running away screaming, because that's been my experience. And I do want to get your take on that too. What do you think it was about you personally, maybe during that time frame, or about the way that the training was presented that got you in? At least
What's
curious.
the formula?
Right.
I think it's important to probably note that we obviously cherry picked basically initially. So even though we really admired Jay Jack, he was like our idol, we still were like, but we can take all of the bits that we like without that. So we're not going to use a squirt bottle. We don't need to use a method, but we can still take windows.
I did use a squirt bottle once, and it really worked.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Which and I
felt you felt so naughty.
Was
that the two fighting?
No, it was an English Bull Terrier that wouldn't stop fighting its people in the home, and just like normal English Bull Terrier can't settle. And I tried everything else. We tried tethering, but as soon as it was off the tether, so we're just like, right, just squirt it in the face, just give it a little squirt as it's coming up to try and mouth you. And now it literally lives a happy life with them, and
as wandering around in their living room.
She's never been force free anyway all this time. But yeah, like it was like and then it was just kind of everything happened. So it kind of happened slowly, and it just sort of happened all at once. I think there was like, for me, there was a big part of me that I was getting really disillusioned by, if I'm being completely honest, just being differential reinforcement strategy, like after differential reinforcement strategy. And I was like, and then I think I obviously started seeing Dylan's stuff. And I guess it's like, even though Jay has all these concepts and stuff, he's actually a lot better now. He's posting like more actual like lesson content. But a lot of it was like theoretical. You'd be watching it in a seminar, but you wouldn't see like the full progression. And I guess that for me is clearly what I needed. I needed to see it, like it happen, like with the dog starting point, what's happened, and then how the dog is after that, but then also how the dog is later on. So there was that. But then Jay actually did do a post, and it was so simple. But it was just basically just a really simple explanation of like, true freedom and liberty essentially comes from punishment. And I think it just sort of like clicked with me. And I was just like, you know, like I worked on my dog, not jumping up at people for how many years? It was 4.5. I literally worked on it for 4 years. I did everything you could possibly do, managed the hell out of him, rewarded him, did indirect rewards behind me so that we walk up to somebody to say, hi, my name's Libby, this is my dog's Arlo, nice to meet you. Send him to the spring pole behind me. I literally did everything. But I never took jumping up off the table. And I literally told him no twice, tapped him on a 10, and he jumped up at anyone since. And I was like, oh my God, like,
her dog is the most well-trained dog in so many ways.
In a neurotic way, though.
But he was horrible to walk because he would chase deer. So Libby differentially reinforced
99 things
out of him. It was, he was just like, he was not a dog. We live in a really beautiful place in the UK, and I took him for a walk one day when Libby was up, and I was like, go away, like go be a dog, go enjoy yourself.
She messaged me like, he's very attentive, but it's quite annoying. Why not just being a dog?
Apart from he chased a deer, I called him and he didn't come back.
Yeah, so it wouldn't even work.
All of the stuff that she'd been doing to stop him chasing deer, and then I mean, you might as well talk about Arlo soon as we're on the topic. But he became. She would put him back on a long line. I'm telling your story, but
tell it. I'm sick of it.
She put him back on a long line for 6 months, doing tattle training, predatory substitution training, differential reinforcement. So he would basically, if he saw a leaf move, he'd be tapping on that, checking in.
The car driving past away.
Like literally anything. He became depressed. He's a really high drive, staffy cross thing. Like he loves to run for the sake of he likes to run for the sake of running. And he never stops. Like he's never just walking by you. He's like living his best life in the distance, but not too far. But yeah, he was just horrible to walk. He wouldn't. I said, you might as well be walking around on a council estate in the middle of central London, because he's not like going off and enjoying the woods. Yeah. So what's the point? Like, what's the point in being here if you're just going to?
Ultimately, it's because I knew I didn't hit, and I was very lucky, like, in a lot of ways, that he's actually the poster boy for positive reinforcement training, like, because he could almost do everything.
He can orbit, he can heal,
But even like his recall for such a like high drive, like
amazing,
prey-driven dog, like I can literally like recall him like off a decoy, like back far away. I can recall him off the spring pole. I can recall him off a deer. If he flushed a deer and he is like that close to it, and I think you posted something about something like that, and I can't remember which dog it was. I think was it Ari maybe, and I think you were trying to explain it's like the difference of calling your dog off something when maybe the thing is like kind of already out of their reach, like the bird's already flown up in the air, or the squirrels ran into the bush. And I'm like, clearly, like what I'm struggling with, there's just this one situation where that motivation just outweighs. And even when I'm calling him off a decoy, I'm calling him off a spring pole, I can send him back to those things, and he knows that. Like he knows I'm not going to send him back to the deer. So
not daft.
He's not daft. So
no, it was.
That all just came together at once.
There was a post. There was a post, and like, whenever a force-free trainer I get why they don't show anything. Whenever they try to show something, and they attach it to this like attitude, like suck it, balance bros. These videos that they put out are so bad, it almost looks like a parody video that a balance trainer would make to dunk on them. What you're talking about was there was a force-free trainer, of course, with her personal dog, supposedly recalling her dog off of chasing seagulls.
Yeah, I
When
remember.
actually she allowed the dog to flush the seagulls out and chase them. The seagulls were up in the air. The dog can do nothing about it. And then she would whistle and the dog would come back and get food. That is quite a bit different than the dog truly believing I can get the seagull. Like that's a totally different dimension. You know what I'm saying? Like at that point, the prey is no longer an option. So I'm just getting rewarded for finishing the chase, you know? Yeah, that is so funny. So I guess that's a good point to, there's so many ways to take this.
And it's basically like suppression, I guess. That is how I felt.
Oh, sure.
I felt that actually all this talk about suppression from punishment, and I was like, but what am I actually doing to my dog every single day? I'm suppressing so much natural behavior when actually all I want to do is suppress one, really.
Right.
I'm honest. And even then I don't actually give a shit if you chase it, mate. It's just
that
gosh.
that I think people seriously underestimate how creepy the force-free vision for what a dog is actually is. Like it's genuinely, to me, it's disturbing. So a dog that all he can think about, he basically has been classically conditioned into this weirdo tweaker that anytime anything in the environment moves an inch, he's whipping his head around salivating. Like I don't understand how no one has been able to demonstrate to me how that's desirable or a good life for like your dog in that instance. It just doesn't make any sense to me. But I guess I wanted to pull the thread a little bit more about, I don't want to keep it on the community stuff for long because it is depressing. But you said that you lost buddies and all that. Did anybody stick around, or has it been a full just? Oh man, so you've got some people that are still like cool with you.
I had conversations with people that I genuinely thought would be like, oh my goodness, I never thought you'd do that. I'm not going to be a friend anymore. Where they were like, I had actual conversations with a few people, and they were like, I know you, and I know how much you love dogs and how I care for them, and I trust that you wouldn't do anything that you thought was unethical or that was like doing harm. So
you must think it's in the best interest of the dog. Yeah,
so I had people that I would like some of the people I was most worried about telling because they're like close to me. Have been a lot more understanding than I thought that they would be, and even curious.
Mm-hmm. Someone came on a walk, didn't they?
Yes, someone came on a walk with us. Some people have joined our Patreon to actually watch it as well. So we're very open. Like if my friends wanted to come and watch us train, they could come and watch what we're doing. Because like I had that experience with somebody who let me come and watch one of their sessions. And so.
Does anybody take you up on that?
We've had clients that
that
have
sent messages asking a bit more about it, and when we've explained.
But we don't do any equal. I mean, we try not to do much that isn't board and train anymore. But we don't do equal training with just a one-to-one client, because I do think that there's nuance to it, and we want to make sure that things are being done in the way that we want them done.
Mm-hmm. When you guys still new enough to it that I feel like that's a wise decision where it's like you want to be in control of it right now so that you can kind of figure it out, experiment a little bit with like it's one thing to translate a lesson to a dog, and then it's another thing to translate the lesson to the person to translate to the dog. I think that makes good sense.
We're very fast learners.
Yeah.
I'd say we
we're very good at taking a concept, being able to apply it, and yes, we've made mistakes, and then we learn from that tenfold. So
what trial and error learning works. That's why.
Oh
Yeah.
shit! Oh shit!
Yeah.
Exposed.
But yeah, we just if we're doing anything with aversives with people, we want to make sure that they're committed to their dog first.
Yeah.
And so we just wouldn't do that on a 1 hour session a fortnight. So yeah.
So you may have different answers personally for this one. What has been the most unnatural concept, maybe in the use of aversives or balance training generally, for each of you to adapt into training? In terms of it's taken the longest or it's continuing to feel like a learning process versus an idea maybe that snapped into place. What was the hardest thing for you, or maybe an ongoing challenge? Maybe maybe it's related to shaking previous beliefs, or it is something just mechanically or conceptually that you find to be challenging to do.
Probably have the same one, I would imagine, of using punishment to stop aggression.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yeah. Because everything that I've ever been told is that when suppressing behaviors, there's going to be fallout, it's going to come out in other areas. The dog's still going to feel the same way, so you're stopping the outward behavior, but that kind of festering aggression is still there, and it's going to, like you're just a ticking time bomb. And so that probably for me, and like Dylan, you've spoken to about Theo, who I think has challenged every single belief that we've ever had about anything. Snoring in the corner there like he hasn't got a care in the world, whilst being like the bane of our existence, whilst also the love of our lives.
if you want to talk about him, because I do stand by it's like a bit unfortunate that this was like your first like legit
100%.
aggression case, like switching
he
over,
because
first, like on the challenge scale, where like I'm watching your videos and I'm like, okay, like I wish I was there. Like I wish I was there. You know,
I know. We wish you were here.
I've offered to fly over, like name your prize.
But tell us a little bit about him, like what was going on with him and why you think you're better suited to deal with his problems now.
I mean, I don't know if we are anymore, Dylan, but it's he is a bull breed mix. He was supposed to be with us for 6 weeks, and I think we're now on week 16. We stopped charging after week 6, so he's just like a freeloader at this point. He has like the most severe human aggression I think I've ever seen, in that it like there is zero discrimination of who and what and why he'll bite. So he will bite men, women, people that are just standing there, people that are coming towards him, people that turn around to leave, people that leave, people that want to give him food, people that ask him to do anything. Like literally, like there is nothing that you could do for this dog to not want to bite people. Like his suspicion goes so deep, and we're still kind of peeling back all the layers of why the fuck Theo is doing what he's doing.
I think that one of the most challenging things about him is that it isn't really just about, I mean, obviously it never really is just about aggression, that's a silly thing to say, but you know, it runs so deep with him. Like he's just a very serious dog.
Yeah.
Like in terms of his personality, it's just serious. Like there's not much lightness and joy, and it's almost like any pressure, he just,
even from us,
he just,
this is where we stripped it back to, is when we're currently working on, don't roll your eyes when I ask you to sit. Like, please, just do that. Just it's really not that deep, Theo. If I ask you to sit, I'm not trying to kill you. Nothing bad's gonna happen. I don't think he thinks that anything bad's gonna happen. He just doesn't want to sit.
He doesn't. No, he does not think anything bad's gonna happen. This was an interesting.
I don't want to.
And he will only play after we have stressed him out. But after we have done a stressful session, which used to be when he didn't bite somebody, and he was kind of like, we were like, oh, he's giddy, he's happy with himself, he needs like that arousal dump, do you know what I mean? Then he would play. Then he sort of like got bored of not biting people, so he was like, I don't really now get that same hit anymore, so I don't need to play. All right.
Yeah.
And then we'd start doing things that were like a little bit stressful in terms of just our own training sessions with him, and then he would play. He's just
Then he did wall climb twice, and
Cool.
we were like, oh my goodness, we cracked it.
It's so momentary. That's what we needed. Less pressure.
Yeah. But now don't throw up, Dylan. But Libby is now free shaping play.
Literally.
Whoa.
Yeah, it's quite horrible to watch, but it is kind of working.
Okay.
So it's awful.
Well, it was Kim and I have talked about this before. No, you should. Because I stand by, he is not a prime how would you call it, like test subject. I mean, because you can keep him long term, he actually is great in that sense. But like if you had like a 2-month time limit, we're trying new techniques, this is not the dog. Like he's but Kim and I have talked about this before, and the last time we talked about Theo kind of breaking through the force-free delusion, not in your mind, but like generally speaking, that the only reason a dog would ever bite a human being is because he's like afraid for his life. And like you're sending me videos, and like, dude, that dog's not afraid. He's starting it. Like he's not afraid. Like he's like genuinely just like, I'm gonna go nail you.
The only time he's shown that though is when he clearly wants to bite somebody.
Yeah.
And it's like that inner conflict of I want to bite you, but I know
you told me that's no longer an option.
Right.
So then he's like stress eating leaves or like shaking, like, so whether that is like, I don't think that's fear of the person.
No.
I think that's like just the fear of being out of control.
I think that's what it's about.
I mean, it's literally like what happens in bite sports where we're like, hey, dude, you can't bite the decoy. Now play with me. And the dog will play way harder. So they're like, fuck you. You know, it's like that sort of, and it's productive conflict because it's like you can make obedience a little more, you know, like all the stuff that we want for bite sports. But like, it sounds like exactly that, where he's like, oh, you're blocking me from my true highest level
in life,
drive, goal, and desire. And now it's like I have to take this out on this stupid punching bag, which is the second best to what you're offering him, but like otherwise that doesn't actually draw him. So like that is super interesting. Like that is for sure a weird dog.
I'm under no illusion that probably if we didn't have such a bias away from punishment just because of like I'm still on a daily basis in internal battles with myself, kind of against like everything I thought I knew, everything I now think I know. I don't even know what I know anymore. Like there is still so much within me that just like it feels it's getting better. But initially I was like, I don't know. I don't even know what I'm doing anymore. This is horrible. I don't enjoy it anymore because I don't know what I'm doing. But if we'd have had a clearer picture with Theo, and if I could be slightly less emotional about things, then I'm sure we probably would have made faster progress with him if we'd have from the get-go probably been harder. But we didn't quite know we didn't quite know how deep it went with him because he is a psychopath.
Yeah. So a couple things. With vast numbers of others, he's just killed. So he should be kissing the ground that you walk on every morning. And I'm sure he does actually. I don't doubt that he loves you guys. No, you're not when I say that in a way he's dying for your sins, I don't mean he's dying for your sins. I mean he's being mildly inconvenienced for your sins. So like as you're dealing with like the real thing while trying to actively incorporate new tactics and strategies. This is an inevitable part of the process. It just is what it is. And you're in it. This is
why we were like, Dylan, help us. J-Jack, help us.
Sinead,
you help. Like we are fully aware that he is outside of our current. I mean, we could have differentially reinforced.
We would have known what we were doing with our old methods. It's because we're trying to do better by him. I guess that's like
And sometimes in my head, I'm still like, if I'd have gone down that route, would I be further towards him being able to superficially act like a normal dog in society? Yeah. Maybe we would be, but that wasn't the path we're going down. And yes, he is dying for us in slightly, but
superficially is the key word. And that I also find on the balance side, there's serious misunderstandings about like what actual trust in a dog and behavioral change actually is. And it can be hard to grasp it until you've really started to play with it to like a really feel it. Yeah. But like a baboon can get a dog to sit while people walk through the door. Like, I don't actually register that as dog training. It's like that, to me, is just not even a thing. So to call it superficial is actually, to me, underselling it. You're actually interacting with the dog on an emotional, social level. You know what I'm saying? And that will, in the short term, feel, how do I put this? I went through a similar thing training with play for the first year, where I was like, man, I'm afraid that I'm going to kill the dog's motivation to play if I start doing obedience. And then I would make that happen by basically psyching myself into doing it and acting differently, and the dog would stop playing. And then I was like, obviously it was the down command, and it had nothing to do with that. But again, at that point, I looked to people that are way better than me, and I was like, okay, they're doing it, so I'm clearly wrong somewhere, and I need to just keep trying to get better. That is what I wish more people would exercise in training. You know what I'm saying? It's like a reflection of, I bet I'm getting something wrong, and I'm just going to keep going all out until I get it right, versus oh, maybe I'm getting it wrong, fuck everyone, fuck everything, I know everything, blah blah blah. Just, you know what I'm saying? So I guess this is a very long-winded way to say that you will look back on him and be grateful for the hell that he's putting you through in train. I'm being totally serious. He's gonna whoop your ass. You're gonna be back at the drawing board, reevaluating what you think you know. That you're getting that out of your systems now with a cool dog that loves you in a very controlled way. And not this super high stakes, if we don't get something done by next weekend, the dog's dead, type thing. I was just talking to on another show about that, where it's like, guys, you don't want to, this is the ideal scenario to start really getting into the nitty gritty with behavioral issues. You don't want it to be this strict formal thing where the stakes are insane, because it's just too risky of a game to do it that way. You need to feel the way that you feel now, which is, I'm going to try, and we're going to fucking see what happens. You know what I mean? And that's where you guys are at. And looking back, right now, it'll feel really stressful. When you look back on it, you will be grateful. I promise you.
Because we kind of let the stress go. We wanted some time off over Christmas. That didn't happen. And we're just right, we're in it. We're in this now.
Yeah, because she doesn't have a garden, does she? So it's we didn't want, we could have just been oh, go home and have just toilet breaks, do you know what I mean? 2 days. But she doesn't have a garden, so you'd have had to been walked 4 times a day to go to the toilet and all of that. And we were no, we can't risk it. He's not ready. We'll keep him.
Because just to I'm not super up to date on the legislation stuff in the UK, but is it any bully breed now has to be muzzled when they're in public? Is that kind of the thing, or how does that work?
Yeah, not every bull breed, but yeah, if they meet type. So it's called breed-specific legislation, but it's not about breed, it's actually just about what the dog looks like. And some dogs meet certain criteria.
Really? So they do a facial analysis thing, and they're oh, you're structured.
Bethany actually does typing assessments, don't you? We did. So.
Interesting.
Yeah,
you measure the dog.
My dog's a all type. So he was seized when he was 3 days old with his litter, and then spent 5 years in police kennels. And I was I assisted in his legal assessment, and I just fell in love with it. He's boss-eyed, big old boss-eyed pit bull, and so I went through courts to take him on. 2 years now.
Wow.
Yeah, about 2 years. He's got his issues. Children being one of them. I remember you guys talking about you don't know any dogs that hate children. My dog is one of those dogs.
Damn.
Yeah.
He is a child, and
He failed the doll test.
He would. Well, he probably wouldn't, because he's actually not super.
He wants the
into
real
tug.
thing.
Like,
He wants the real thing. Yeah. He wants to meet.
So you get a really great doll test with
You get a
him.
really good, like, false positive.
Yeah.
So you actually stole our idea. I can
Yes, you
provide
did.
our WhatsApp conversation of wanting to do that with Arlo, because we watched that assessment
And the whole hour and a half, not on YouTube.
Yeah.
far later than we started watching it very late. And I was
No,
like,
you started watching it.
Yeah,
Yeah,
then
I
I
was
was
in
like-
bed, and then she texted me at 10 o'clock, and she's like,
was
"You
like,
just
you've
got
got
to
to
watch
do
this." Midnight, I'm still awake. This is awful. Like,
Yeah.
it's because so I do assessing
right before bed.
Yeah,
Right.
I do legal assessments, and just even but I just think it's beyond anything I've ever seen before. And I think Sue Sternberg has a lot to answer for as well. I think obviously Gia is doing it, but Sue Sternberg's the one that's created it, and I feel quite ashamed that I've actually quoted parts of her book as part of my legal report, because she's obviously the one creating assessments. I didn't do any of the pet hands. That's not really a thing in the UK that I'm aware of. But yeah, just watching that and seeing the hatred that people have for Bulbury. Because I genuinely think those were, if they were spaniels, they would like be on this happy spaniel bounding out, but it's bull breed. And so just by nature of the fact that they're big, powerful dogs.
No, for real.
Yes.
Pit bull people,
And
for
so
how
sad.
much pit bull people, for how much they talk about how much they love the breed, they've totally allowed the most vulnerable pit bulls in the world to be judged life or death by people that hate pit bulls. Like, literally. Like, these people make tests to deliberately fail pit bulls so that they can slaughter them. I don't even want to go off on it because it makes me so mad. But we talk about it all the time because it's just like no one up until now. I feel like there's no awareness of what these people have been doing. Luckily, I think that the tide is turned in a way. So utilizing punishment for aggression has been the thing. Yeah, I guess that the retort to the force-free take on it, which of course is delusional and brain dead, reductionist, delusion. Yeah, it says all those things. Is that punishing the aggression, of course, doesn't happen in a vacuum. Right? Like, that's not like that's not the literal only thing you would do, and you guys know that. But I guess my follow-up question would be, what would be something that what is something that's stuck with you, aside from just the sheer number of hours that you've spent with dogs? Do you think that there's anything from your experience from the force-free side that could actually have like serious positive impacts if people on the balance side were to sort of chew on it and think it over?
I think actually looking at dogs' health definitely is something I see.
Yeah.
Balance trainers often overlooking. So I'll watch, and I'm probably a slight hypochondriac based on the amount of dogs that I've seen, and like I think that there's an element of within the force-free world of you're trying to find any excuse that this dog could be behaving the way that it is, whether they've got a headache or a sniffle or like you're trying to find anything that goes right. I can't do it because
it becomes an excuse, not an explanation. Yeah.
Whereas I do think that there is an element of you do have to take the dog's physical health into account, and I
100%.
do think that that's something that's lacking in the balance community. Particularly where we work with bull breed, like 70% of them have hip dysplasia.
Yeah.
We did have a board and trained dog who sadly was put to sleep because he had IVDD, and we just watched him deteriorate over the 6 weeks we had with him, because he'd gone from just being on lead never meeting a dog. We had him off be playing with dogs, and he was so lame.
Within 30 seconds of playing with a dog.
Yeah.
So he's only 18 months old.
So we took him to the vets, had neuro tests on him, and it was just, he was going to be paralyzed within the next 6 months or something. So he was pretty for that. But I think, yeah, I'm probably hyper tuned to it, but I do think that there's like, even if you're just like, right, we're going to make sure this dog is on pain medication while we move forward, it doesn't mean that we stop everything and say, right, we can't do anything because this dog has hip dysplasia. That dog still has to live in society. You still have to have consequences of your actions. There still has to be everything else. But I do think for me, that is something that I'm grateful that I have an eye for.
Yeah. Yeah. And it's a big thing in the, and it's interesting because it speaks to like biases, and not like in a bad way, but like the balanced community is like, sweet, we can train everything. So then you almost like overuse that tool, and that becomes the explanation for everything. And in the sport world, like particular IGP, because it was built around genetic testing of the German, like testing the breed characteristics that we want to preserve through genetics, every explanation is about genetics. And then people don't realize like, hey, actually that's your training that sort of caused that. So it becomes an excuse like, oh, my dog just has shitty genetics. And like, that's what it reminds me of, is like sometimes like in the balanced community, it's like, oh, everything is training. And then you forget about sort of the, like Jay's layered stress model, right? Like at least check that box. And it's also a really common one in the sport world where a lot of dogs, they're driven enough to work through pain. Like that's part of what they're bred to do. The bull breed's very similar, and they're not gonna show you through like the obvious signs of like, even lameness is not always obvious. It's like you touch them. Like even my dog, like he's probably developing some like lower back issues, and I scratch him that way and he just gets a little like antsy, and I'm like, oh, that, like I need to notice that and probably do something about it. I just noticed it recently, but anyway, but like that's the kind of stuff that's really easy to ignore. But then if his sit gets slow, then it would be like, oh, he's just being lazy. And it's like, no, actually maybe his back, so like stuff like that gets missed really, really easily. And because it's like, oh, we have this lens of training, but just remembering like, hey, check that box. And like you say, like it's fixable, like, but pain management needs to be part then of the protocol for a dog with hip dysplasia. So yeah, that's a super good point.
The biggest blowback we've had actually was because of that dog that would put to sleep.
Interesting.
We had him in a prong because pulling for him, so his IBDD was like right between his shoulder blades, and he would pull like he came to us on a prong. He came to us on a prong, but he was like a nervous wreck, who just was so like sheepish about the world. The more confident he got, like he was like, right, where are we today? And he was just loving life by the end of it. But with that came, he was pulling because he was just like, I want to get to the next place. Like I want to sniff things. We want to do stuff. So
I like dogs now. I want to say hello.
Yeah, so we kind of like created this problem that we were then having to start to pull back and be like, right, Ralph, like you're having a great time, but you now can't yank around me. So we had him on a prong, and that was where we had the most kind of people being quite horrible to us about the fact that he was on a prong, because we'd been transparent about the fact that he was going lame. And they were like, how can you be using a tool
You're
that
being
is going
mean to this lame dog?
Pain?
Yeah.
Why are you using something that is, you're using fear and pain to train this dog that you've said is fearful and painful? And we were like, right, well, if you actually gave us a chance to explain, pulling could paralyze him.
They don't care.
Yeah, like very high stakes. Yeah.
They don't
very
care.
high stakes. But no, but I mean,
but it's also just the insulting, I think, of our intelligence that actually really pisses us off the most.
That is so true.
You not think that we have like put all of this together and been like, yeah, this is the letter of all evil. Do you think we're stupid? Do you think you don't realise that you're pulling less on the prong because it's not as comfortable to pull into a prong? Like, we get it.
We took him to the vets in the first place.
We get that, but we're happy to live with that. I don't care if he finds pulling uncomfortable, because pulling might kill him. Like,
it's better to be slightly uncomfortable for 2 seconds than to be paralyzed and put down however many months earlier versus having a good quality of life at the moment. It's a very clear risk assessment.
I'm wondering. I'm wondering how dark I want to get right now.
Go
So,
quickly
like,
then.
you're
That's what
you're
we're here for.
you're explaining that situation, and you're the ones with the dog, right? Like, you love the dog.
Love
Like, this
that
is
dog,
like
yeah.
this is our dude. You know what I mean? And you are extremely aware of his medical situation. You know that at some level he's going
And
through
sorry, just to
physical
back up, I
suffering.
want to highlight
Please.
something you said too. Is like you're the ones who took him to the vet. Like oftentimes the
Right.
client.
Oh, we
doesn't
got
even
him the
know.
diagnosis.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
The clients
picked
aren't
it
even
up.
educated enough to see it. Yep. Yep.
We
Correct.
did pick
So-
it up before he came to us and suggested,
Yep.
you know, getting X-rays, getting all this, and
Yep.
yeah, it just
Yep.
it
You-
didn't
Again,
happen.
like
We
you
still
care
agreed to
enough
take it.
to yes.
You
Yep.
are doing due
Yep.
diligence, right?
Yep.
Yeah.
You're taking care of the animal. You love the animal, right? You're there with him for training. Every day that you train, you are the ones there with him on the scene, ground zero. And some segment of our cherished professional community will casually, without blinking, accuse you of what should be within our field the most atrocious moral crimes. The thought that you could casually accuse someone of deliberately and knowingly torturing an increasingly disabled dog that you are being paid to train, the thought that our world has reached a point where it's not surprising to me at all, and I know to Kimberli either, that you got those messages. That sort of like back when we were talking about how people have accepted defeat and rescue and it's just unacceptable. That's how I feel about the community. I don't think that it's okay that we just say that shit to each other. Like, I don't think that I don't think we treat that as disgraceful and deranged as it actually is, just on the facts. You
It's
know what I'm
funny,
saying?
like even you saying that the first time, I was like, oh yeah, you're right. Like,
Of course.
'cause
Yeah.
I just-
yeah.
well,
That's
yeah,
just how we
whatever.
treat each other. That's just what we do to each other. We just do that to each
Yeah.
other for no good reason. There's no constructive, there's nothing behind it other
It's
than
totally
just
normalized. Yeah.
cancer. Just cancer and warfare. So
I
go ahead.
I feel slightly more like I understand those people because I was those people.
Yeah.
So I think I'm. Don't roll your eyes at me.
No.
But I do.
No.
I do
No.
understand it, and I
No, let her talk. Let her talk.
see the world with slightly like I do feel like there's almost like a religious element to this. And I grew up in a very religious family. I'm not easily offended because I do have a slightly odd family, and just none of us are particularly easily offended. So we've always been like the family of debaters, and we will have like we're deep thinkers. We'll argue, like play devil's advocate. But I do think there's an element of like you're brought up in the dog training world by a particular family and by particular rhetoric, and it's very difficult to be open-minded enough to actually step out of that deliberately. And when this is literally all you're hearing is that prongs are, and they do look barbaric.
Mhm.
We had a client come to us and say, well, I would never put one of those barbed wire collars on my dog. I mean, they ended up actually walking
in a barbed wire collar.
in a barbed wire collar
The dog's like 70 kilos and like
and lunging at donkeys.
lunging at donkeys.
So
What's
it's
that in freedom? What's that in freedom measurement units? 70 kilos. What's that in pounds?
Oh,
It's
I
like
have no
100
idea.
Fuck it,
Thirty
that's
pounds.
It's
It's a-
huge.
It's
Oh,
the
Like
yeah.
150,
big
basically.
big bull
That's
mastiff.
100. That's 154 freedom units.
There you go.
Wow.
Yep. Yep.
That's crazy. Wow. Okay. Sorry. That was just
Yeah.
That's funny.
Big
But
boy.
He is a big boy. Most of the dogs that come to us are big
Oh,
boys.
big.
And most of them boys as well, to be fair. But yeah, I do feel like I understand it.
But you wouldn't word it like that. There's no curiosity.
Well, I
else
think-
unless it's
No.
rude.
I think what is interesting though, like what you're
Different.
saying is that it is this religious. It's the same as
Yeah.
It's like a cult.
It is. And like I think that's what's kind of wild about it. And like again, like we don't have to go like crazy deep into it, but unless you guys want to, but like they do believe that when they're saying
Yeah.
that, you
Yeah.
know, like it is they believe that they are doing the right thing. Like how I said earlier, like I feel the compulsion to say something about something I disagree with so I can sleep at night. Like that is their thought process. They feel like they need to call out abuse and torture of a disabled, you know what I mean? Like, and that's what's so difficult to get through. And I think like Dylan's points, he has brought it up in this particular podcast, but like online content, like people that follow and listen will know what I'm talking about. Like those people are kind of a lost cause potentially. And like even what you're saying, Libby, where you're like, well, you would never say it like that because you are open-minded enough to not get sucked in that deep into that cult or that like religious sort of zealot behavior. But that is a really difficult, it's a really difficult line to come back from and to pull back from, because it is like that much of a core belief.
I think for me, like at the moment, my sort of like the feelings that Dylan has to basically everybody.
Yeah.
Like my feelings that are similar to that at the moment are kind of reserved for the people that have basically privately messaged us and told us that, yeah, it doesn't work for every dog. Yeah, I have people's money back. Yeah, I wouldn't be able to do half the stuff I'd probably say need to do. I've just told them I can't help them. Basically, the dog needs equal training to be off the leagues. It's a street dog and it's got a high prey drive and whatever. And then the next day goes and posts a real life positive reinforcement works for every single dog. People only resort to using force when knowledge runs out. And it's like,
So,
mate, you literally messaged us that my hatred is reserved for those. I mean, hatred is from word, but you know what I mean.
Yeah, so they should be drawn and quartered in the streets. Do you guys still do that in the UK? I think you may have invented that, but that's what should be happening. Yeah.
The death penalty is no longer.
That's insane, and that's another phenomenon that I've talked to. We're not naming names today. I've talked to people that know very prominent leaders in the force-free world that actually train with aversives.
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah, we know. Them.
So that's to me, I can't think that you are anything.
Is wild,
right?
Yeah,
but it's more. It's like it's pulling the ladder up, right? Because there are people that are trying to get good information, and you're openly advocating for things that you know are bad, right? While personally benefiting. Right. So that to me is just I don't know. You guys are like, I'm glad that there are good people on our side. I'm just not. I can't meet halfway on some of these things and try to understand. I just like, but I guess my question,
Dylan, the reason I kind of brought it up. Oh, go ahead.
I'm grateful that there are people like you doing what you're doing, because I do think that there is something, like I said, slightly unhinged about it, but it's working.
Yeah.
Like I'm seeing a lot more people showing actual dogs. I think even us, like you're a massive part of why we're now doing what we're doing and trying to be better.
I'm posting us stuff on Patreon.
Yeah, like if you hadn't have started this in the way that you have, that is like, can't look away. It's not boring.
Yeah.
Like it's good marketing, even though I don't necessarily agree with everything that you say and how you say it. I do find some of it funny. So but like that is
funny, as in like when you wake up in the morning, you go on and you're like,
let's turn on our TV drama
anyway.
Yeah, it's funny. Like I do find it funny, and I'm not easily offended. So I think it is like I wouldn't necessarily say it, and I'm not somebody I'm not into like conflict. For me, it's like it's real.
Me too, actually. Like, yeah.
But like for the dogs, like that is genuinely looking at snoring Theo over there, and I'm like, there is anything I can do to help him or dogs like him, I will do it, even if it feels uncomfortable, even if I don't enjoy it, even if I like
haven't got all the answers.
Like I'm going to try my absolute best to do what I can to help the dogs. And I think that because of the way that you are causing waves, like that is happening more. I'm seeing people. I still saw someone that's probably about 20 minutes down the road from me now wearing a bite suit documenting an aggression case. I have never seen that. Like, and I'm sure that is to do with you, because there's nobody else doing it. So that's why when we have Theo and we're like stuck and honestly, what are we supposed to do with this dog? I'm like, right, I'm going to go to the person. He might be across the other side of the world. I can see that he's doing it, and I want to know how. And if, like, I'll bug people. I'm quite happy to slide into the DMs of somebody that
I'm quite a good schmoozer, right?
I'm a good schmoozer. If I can schmooze, and Ivan's the only person that's never replied to me. But maybe he will now.
Yeah, right.
But yeah, like I will talk to anybody to help dog life.
Yep. Yep. Yeah, and Dylan, the reason I framed it that way, fuck it, that's my train of thought. But no, like you said something before we started recording where you were like, the reason I brought up like, oh, those people actually believe it when they say abuse. You wanted to ask a question. I forget exactly how you phrased it, but basically like, what is the solution to those sorts of people? Because like you think they're a lost cause, but like we're curious like what these guys think. Like, can you?
Yes, that's what I wanted to get into ultimately too. Like this is the most selfish motivation for wanting to have you guys here. Wanting to pose this question, sort of like Kim's laid out. We have had conversations behind the scenes, sometimes of varying levels of heat, about strategy, like how we actually wage the war and how we actually win. And just like I am with dog training, I am actively seeking ways to prove myself wrong. Like I'm trying to find holes. Like that, I'm always trying to find holes so that I can address it. I guess because you two are such unique individuals. Usually when I refer to someone as a unique individual, it's a bad thing.
It's an insult.
But you're in such a unique position, and like the way, I'm going to try not to use the word journey because it's so cringe. But like your
Lean into it, Dylan.
trajectory,
Come on.
the trajectory and the way that you're going about things, and the like, you have such a unique perspective here. I want to be wrong, right? So like everything Kim said is an accurate representation about how I feel about the dog training landscape right now, in which I think that it is on a macro level, a bad strategy to be reaching hands out and begging for the other side to just, if you just heard us out. Like I actually think we did that for a really long time. And every time we pull our hand back, we have less fingers. Every single time. So
I think you can do that with friends that are like in your circle. What you're talking about is like reaching the masses that you don't know personally.
Well, I got into it with a unique individual. All right. I think the guy likely is brain damaged. I'm only half kidding about this, but I was talking to this guy and he was like, well, he's a balanced guy. I have a lot of force-free friends. I wonder what you're doing wrong. And I was like, well, okay, check this out. All right. My phone goes off every single day with balanced trainers wanting to run things by me. By the way, I do this too. I message people. I see a video. I talk to someone who I respect in training and they have something weird going on, interesting. I want to know what they're doing. I see that type of movement on the balance side constantly, right? And with me personally, people are like, dude, with that dog, maybe even they're just like, I don't like how you did that. Like, but what do you think about this? Whatever. I have had, and that's every day virtually for 2 years, by the way. My phone goes off, balance trainers like yourselves from around the world, okay? I have had zero instances of anyone that presents themselves as a force-free trainer asking, why did you do that with this dog? What do you think about this situation? Hey, can you check out this video I shot with this reactivity case? I think I've got a better idea. I've had zero instances of that happening. This is also to count the time frame at the beginning where I was not in my offense mindset, where now it's just open season and I'm just destroying everyone I can. I was very much like hey guys, check out the dog, and zero, right? So I guess my question, and maybe you don't think that's a good strategy, and maybe I'm sort of like arguing against a straw man. How do we win? I guess is what I'm saying, because I would really rather not have to be mean, because I don't actually like doing it, which I kind of want Kim to edit that part out of the podcast. It like if I could wake up tomorrow,
admission of weakness still?
No, because it only works if people think I'm serious.
Your strategy. I know.
Even though I will say it's all a joke, and people still will take every word seriously. They cannot.
You literally could tell them exactly your strategy.
I do.
I know.
I do.
You do.
But the question, I guess, because I genuinely want to stop talking. I would like to wake up in a world tomorrow where it's just, hey guys, check out these dogs, and everyone's doing that. Like everyone is just, hey guys, check out these dogs. Why does that not work with one particular brand of individual that believes one particular set of ideas? And do you think that the phenomenon that you represent is more than just a one-off flash in the pan? And like, how do we get more people to move in that direction, I guess, is what
as much as I'd like to remain unique, because it's I don't think we are one-offs. I'm not saying it's like really commonplace,
but it's possible. Yeah.
Well, there are people within that were force-free and now are not, and now they're balanced. I don't know if you're talking about like the generic, like just generic balance, or if you're talking about a specific brand of balance.
Just generally speaking, people that are willing to.
There's plenty.
Okay.
There are plenty.
But I do think it's kind of the same topic, but in relation to the other thing you were saying, why are those people not messaging you?
Or talking.
If I'm being...
Or literally talking. So I want to remove myself. Yeah. Sorry. Keep going.
Yeah, look, but why they're not sending you videos and asking you for advice is because I genuinely think even if those people were like, maybe I do actually need to use some pressure with this dog, or I would consider using a tool, they would probably see you as extreme.
Sure.
In your training, because of what you show. And I know it might sound bonkers, I'm only being honest, like that is honestly what I think. I think you might be seen as extreme, whereas actually, people have misconceptions, like because you document certain things, they might just take one look at it and be like, I bet that guy walks around with all his dogs in the heel all day. Like, what even Gia's saying about how you basically just mask everything with obedience. And everyone that actually watches your stuff is like, what? No, it does the opposite of that, actually. But it's that is the illusion, I think, that people would have initially. If they're totally force-free, they're considering using tools, they're not then going to make the jump to training like you.
Not many people show the actual punishment, which is hard to watch. So nobody wants to see that. Like, I don't want to see it when I do it. So I don't think that's like, people aren't necessarily going to be drawn to that, because like it might be interesting to watch, but there's also something about it that's off-putting. So you're
it's like watching couples get into an argument where it's like, it happens, but like it's kind of
right.
But like, I don't think there are many people like us necessarily that would go from not using any tools whatsoever to like we want to do training without conflict. Like we want to do the TWC course. We just got to now save up it's now 30 grand. So
base alert.
It is. So like I don't think there's many people that go from force free to that, because it's like there's a whole spectrum of lemur and activations and redirections and low level conditioning and all of that in between that kind of feels gentler.
Or people saying that they'll punish and then actually it's not. It's just an interruption really, or it's negative reinforcement.
Whereas we're like, no, that, like everything you say makes sense. And I like when I was first thinking about moving more into balance stuff, I was like, I really wish someone would come and change my mind. Like, I wish there was a force-free person that could come and just actually have it out with me, argue, and make this not make sense. because it just makes sense.
Stop us going down this
Like
road.
contingent, like things being contingent makes complete sense to me. I know balance trainers that use a lot of like activation and different kind of conditioning and pairing and stuff with equals. It doesn't make any sense to me. Like I don't, from the dog's perspective, I don't understand it. But you're using it on such a low level, it doesn't really hurt the dog. It's like a tap on the shoulder. All of that, dogs look flashy. It's palatable. Whereas what you're doing isn't necessarily palatable. But I have always been quite drawn to the extremes of behaviour, and I like extreme dogs. And so I don't see many people taking on dogs that you do and transforming them. So yes, I do think there are crossover trainers from force free to balance, but I don't think there are many that are as like that necessarily like taking on the dogs that we like to take on. And so we need to look outside of the norm to be able to find new answers.
Like that pressure forces you to a certain level of growth that most people aren't putting that pressure on themselves, so it doesn't force that level of growth. I think what's interesting. Yeah, go ahead.
I say a lot of force free trainers are armchair behaviorists, so they're also not doing boarding trains because it's almost impossible to get.
I mean, that's been a massive learning curve for us. We had a bit of like introspection, didn't we, about it? Like the things that you'd ask owners to do, like when you're actually doing it, like, yeah, it's different.
Yeah, there's kind of like a degrees of separation. Like it's easier to give. I don't even want to talk about that because and I really don't want this to be a referendum on Dylan's content, but I want to ask, like, it is just so insane, and I would go as far as to say like legitimately detached from reality, at least from my perspective, that the way that I train dogs would be viewed as like an extremist wing of the balanced side. That's psychotic. Like that.
Well, it's wild that the on-ramp to balance training has been Lima, Napo, like,
yeah,
it is weird. And again, I think the balance community did that to ourselves.
Correct.
Like,
Self-inflicted. Yes.
which sucks, but like it pushed punishment into an extreme category where it otherwise I don't think it would have been. So like,
correct.
It's a hard genie to put back in the bottle. But yeah, anyway, go on.
But like, the dogs are just running around outside. You know what I mean? So like if I guess the point of bringing this up is that from the perspective of a force-free advocate, that is, we'll say that they're not like a totally radical, but they're like, no, I believe what I believe, and maybe at some level everybody has a bias in some way, right? I just have a hard time understanding how they could watch a dog running around outside playing with people and say, we just can't have this. You know what I mean? Like I'm repelled by this. And you could go down the road of like, my presentation isn't great because I'm foul mouth. Dude, there are plenty of balance trainers all over the world that have dogs running around having fun. And I think at some level you're being too charitable to these people, and that they know.
But even
Go ahead, please.
Even the smallest thing you do, though, such as when you're playing, asking them for a down, throw the ball, and then they break it, you're not setting them up for success. So even that would be considered difficult to watch.
In terms of the broken that down more than like that's
because that for me has been something that's been difficult to get over, and not setting the dogs up for success all the time, and actually sometimes wanting them to make the error so that you can show them the picture. But like that wouldn't have looked like I would have watched that and been like, why would you why would you you knew the dog was going to break. Why did you make it so hard for them?
That's super interesting. That's super interesting.
Yes. So the reason why I laughed, it was not at you, is because you actually just kind of opened my mind on that quite a bit, because I haven't even considered that angle of it. That's very interesting.
Because that is you running around playing with dogs, but that's something that I'll see you do all of the time. Is like, who was it?
And you're just so convinced that they know the position, whereas we would probably convince ourselves
it was an unfair
obviously don't know it that
because
well.
they didn't know it. Yeah, if they made a mistake,
I haven't thought it well enough.
We are giving dogs so much more credit now.
Yeah,
and I'm just, I feel like I know I can see dogs better.
Yep,
I know them better.
And also, like, trust that they have the resilience to take that correction as a learning experience rather than just like crumble. You know, so anyway, like,
concept, like
you're
teaching them the concept as well.
Correct.
It's not about the down.
Yes.
They're like, I remember when we first started doing equine training, it was like, I can do it for recall. That's fine. But I wouldn't want to do it for a sit. Like, a sit doesn't matter to me. Like, a recall is life-saving.
Life-saving, yeah.
But a sit doesn't matter. But now I'm like, well, the sit does matter because I've asked for the sit. And if you can't sit when I've asked you to and there's nothing around and it's just because you want to go sniff over there, then what's going to say that you know what I'm saying? But
yeah, absolutely. Absolutely.
That concept, I think, is still hard to watch if you're coming at it from a
very that's like an interesting concept to frame with, like, oh, it feels unfair to set the dog up for failure, because that, like, I think, like, where Dylan was just like, whoa, it's this realization that a lot of what we take for granted from the balance side and wouldn't even think twice, like, we look at punishment and we're like, oh, that I can see why people have an issue with that, because the dog does actually look sad in the moment. They should look like upset, right? Like, it's uncomfortable feelings in that entire sequence. So it's like, oh, it makes sense. And then Dylan's like, how can you see the dogs running around off leash? But like, they're not actually seeing the dogs running around off leash just having a good time. They're seeing you asking them for obedience, and like that's actually something that they're having an issue with. Like,
but it's less obedience than they asked for.
No, correct. But like, that is
crazy.
Like, no, I know. I hear you.
Well, the dog's face when they get in a tree.
Like, looks nicer to just be like, oh, we're gonna feed you the treat. Like, if you never confront the problem, you can make it look really nice. So like, I just had that realization that, like, oh, that is the thing, like, that is the core thing, is that let's just not confront the problem.
Yeah.
And that's actually what I have an issue with. Like, not even the technique or the aversive per se. It's like, it's the whole like mix up between nice and kind. Like, if I never tell someone no or set a boundary with a person, I feel really nice because I avoided conflict. But in the long run, it's actually wildly damaging for our relationship, and actually very unfair for the person because I'm being dishonest with them at the end of the day via omission, whatever. And like, it's that difference that, I guess, like, I just didn't see it that way. Like, but I think that is probably a little bit the crux of it.
And
anyway,
I think there are like layers to that as well. Even maybe you guys thought, but like, I think even like one thing is actually having, like, you know, it's not really like humor, but like no reward marker, right? So one thing being like and maybe using a little bit of pressure to put the dog back and sit down. Right, fine, okay, can get on board with that. That then looks very different. So you've done that 3 times in a row and the dog's still expecting you to go and give them the help. And then you're like, no, that's it. Like, you know, a proper telling off. And like, even those two things are kind of worlds apart, even in terms of like palatability. Is that a word?
Yeah.
Like, you can sort of get on board with the first bit. So back to your question you asked before, Dylan, about what we found the hardest, I would actually say, now thinking about it, even though I do think like punishment and aggression is difficult, like there is a part of you that's like, but you obviously can't do that. That's like really dangerous. That kind of makes that easier to punish than the dog breaking heel or not down.
Because the stakes are high, so you're like, oh, I'm more willing to. Yes, yeah. Interesting. I'm sorry, I keep talking over you guys because I'm like getting excited.
No, it's super interesting. No, me too. No, I'm like, I get it.
And I think so. Like, what's really interesting to me then is like, okay, we can see the mindset that's creating these assumptions and then these behavior outcomes in the people in terms of like what they're willing to do or not to do or the way they interact with the dog. So it's like, like as a teacher and advocate, whatever, like trying to influence human behavior, then how do we take that information and go, all right, like that's the lesson goal, right? It's like to be like really concrete about it, like, okay, make a post about setting dogs up for success versus setting dogs up for failure. And like I think that's an interesting thing to think about, is like I've been kind of myopic on, oh, it's just about punishment and just about the tools and the aversives, but that's actually just a proxy for
Correct.
more deeply rooted like issues, or not even issues is the wrong word, but like premises, beliefs and like mental framework that people have. So like if you can kind of drill down to that root cause, it makes it much easier to start changing behavior of people. So like even the idea of palatability is an interesting one to sort of like go after, right? Is why do things need to be palatable in order for us to accept that or want to look at it? Like that even is an interesting, like, okay, let's piece apart human nature in that way and talk about like palatability doesn't necessarily equate to efficacy. Anyway, my brain's just going off on like all these tangents, but
I'll admit fault there on a personal level. Extremely rare event. Everyone's blessed to be here. That is a huge non-starter for me when it comes to human interacting with trainers. If they are turned off by the way something looks when they know what the outcome was, I'm done with you. I have zero patience. And I'll admit, I
You would have been done with me. I absolutely, like, I was like, you crack on, Libs. You go off and investigate this weird cult that you're looking into.
I'm not watching any more of that.
I can't watch it. It makes me too sad. Did you see that dog's face? He must have done that harder before. There's no way that's the first time. I bet he's horrible to his children. Like, I genuinely thought you were a horrible human being. Because I was like, how can anyone, if that's the stuff you're posting, what is happening behind closed doors? Like, I was that person. But luckily I had a Libby who is just like quietly cracking on.
No, a butterfly flaps its wings and Libby gets into a car accident, God forbid, doesn't exist anymore. You and I would be bitter foes, like for the end of
Yeah. I'd be dead to each other, yeah.
Yeah. I
think that there's an overcorrection that's happened.
Yes.
There's an overcorrection that's happened towards the force-free side. And now it is moving back. But in order for that to happen, you need champions. And I do think that there's so much kind of in like history and politics in dog training. We are a reflection of society. So there's been a massive left kind of overcorrection.
Yes. Well, and like I don't use the example of boundaries frivolously. Like there is a huge overlap in the way that we've sort of swung in human relationships and like psychology and sort of what therapists are pushed to do it. Like, not that I'm super plugged into that, but like it absolutely maps straight on to the same sort of incorrect premises that are going on in the dog world. So it's like it's very, very interesting to watch the dog world as a proxy for like broader human society. But anyway, I cut you off.
But then you have those leaders that give other people the confidence, and I think that's the thing. There's probably a lot of people who agree that they don't have the confidence to be the outliers because force-free people can be horrible. Like I'm not even when I did have friends who, like when I was force-free and I had friends with balance, they were fine with me, which I know Dylan would probably have an issue with, but they were fine with me. But like I would have people being like, you're not force-free because X, Y, and Z. GRC was, people hated us just for doing GRC.
Wow.
Because that was
why
arousal. Because it's obviously it's arousal. It's not calm. We've never been that kind of.
No, we haven't been like give them a letter to shred. Kind of
no, we did make fun of that one time, but
did.
That like having a dog on a spring pole. We're like, we should have given him a lettuce to shred or a snapple mat.
Yeah.
But
Okay, I kind of want to get
We've
into
never been like, keep them calm, keep them chill, don't let them reach.
Right. It was more
high
about the
arousing.
tools for you guys.
Yeah, we've always been like, let them get crazy and then try and get control at that level. And that is really the premise of GRC. So yeah, so maybe that, because we started maybe even just a little bit with that mindset, we had a head start, I don't know.
It's hard for me, Bethany, because like you're clearly like a good person, like a functioning member of society, or unless you're just like a crazy social chameleon and you have me duped. But the thought that not too long ago you were willing to escalate from I don't like the way that dog looked for a second to I wonder what he's doing to his children.
I wasn't
It's
actually
like
wondering what
crazy
he's doing
work
to
to me.
children.
And I'll be honest with you, it's actually like blackpilling and in a way, because you're a good person. So it makes me wonder what the truly bad actors are willing to convince themselves of. I don't even know how I want you to respond to that. I just had to say it because it's just so fucking insane to me. It's just crazy.
I didn't actually think you were being harmful to your children, but I
thank God.
think that there was like a level of probably misogynistic there.
Yeah.
Like the way that you speak is
Yeah.
like off-putting if you don't actually give you the chance to show who you really are. If you like watching
through the stuff, don't you?
Yeah, you kind of got to
Like,
push through.
Dylan, you match the stereotype of genuinely dangerous humans. Like, that's like on the surface, that is true state.
Wait. The ladies. I'm getting fucking jumped by
Roasted.
the ladies right now. Hang on. No. Wait, we're talking about dogs.
Well,
no,
but
but I'm saying like your presentation, like that is where it can be like people jump to the assumption of you being a bad father because you fit the profile of bad dads. Like
the
on
dogs,
the
Kimberli, the dogs. We're talking about dog training.
Okay,
yes,
you asked Bethany though, like how she made that connection. Like you were confused about that, so I'm just
the connection is made. No. The connection is made because I have people tell me how it's made, which is if he's doing that to the dogs, I wonder what he's doing to his kids. That is the connection.
Partly though, because if you're coming from a mindset where what you're doing is abuse, punishment at the level that you're doing it, dogs looking as frightened as they do in the moment.
Sure.
That if you're thinking that's abuse, and I was coming from a place where I genuinely thought that it was abusive for a dog to look that frightened in a moment was abusive.
Sure. Yeah.
That
I mean,
and then layer your language on top of it, and it like seals the deal. Like that's what I was getting at.
Kimberli is getting more out of this than she should.
Abuse go together.
What's that?
People abuse.
Yeah. That's what I mean by the stereotype. Like that is true. Yeah.
Yeah, and if you feel okay seeing a dog looking at you like that, playing devil's advocate, then what's to say that when you smack your kids up and they look at you all frightened that you don't care? Like you maybe think that they should have eaten their peas. I don't know. Like that is like,
and again, like seeing the context
and
the nuance, like an intelligent human is gonna see, okay, this dude doesn't fit the stereotype, even though on surface level it looks like that. But like
particularly
I think Kimberli, no. You're trying to do a little bit of a subtle walk back here. I think you said I fit every description or something like that.
No, like you fit the stereotype.
You said something crazy.
Did I? I don't know.
Yeah, you went nuts. No, it's okay. No,
I'll go back and watch the tape. But no, like I don't intend it to be crazy, but like, do you understand what I'm saying about like you fit the stereotype of somebody who uses like super misogynistic, homophobic language.
Yes.
Punishes dogs.
Yes.
Like that, like the whole package of your behavior on that surface level, if I just looked at your page and never had a real in-depth conversation with you, that fits the stereotype of that dude looks like, that's what I said, is I was like, you fit the stereotype of dangerous dudes. Like, you do. That's like, and I'm not meaning that as like a crazy statement, but like, I don't know,
So-
Bethany, Libby, do you know what I'm trying to say? Is like, if you were a dude in a bar, I would walk away from it.
Okay.
Like, based on that behavior.
Chill.
That's all I'm trying to say.
Chill. All right. I thought this was a dog training podcast.
No, but like,
All right. No. So, okay. No. Chill. All right.
anyway,
This is what I'm getting at. All right. I'm not going to deny anything you just said.
okay. Thank you. That's all. Okay. Yes. That's my point.
This is what I'm getting at. Okay. When I was a good little well-behaved cuck boy, and I sat in the cuck chair and I thanked people for harassing me and calling me a dog abuser, I got treated worse. And I had just the same reaction to my training as I do now, to be clear. Not that it matters. Like, this actually is just totally irrelevant. What I'm trying to get at is, I don't know how we reach... I don't know. I'm probably just spinning in circles on this. If someone's willing to see... And Libby, the way you put it earlier, I actually think is like the capstone, like the top of it. An unwillingness to see what happens with the dog. That's kind of like the big problem. It's like, say that you come across a clip where a dog gets leash popped, kind of like a firm leash pop, right? And say that you just like turn the video off then, and then don't want to watch any of the other material. I don't know how you convince someone like that to just be like, hey, man, like, we don't have to speculate, you know? Like,
Well, maybe rather than before and after, things need to be after and before. Start with what the dog looks like now.
So I was thinking about that earlier today. I was thinking about a social experiment.
You have to show me the receipts.
No. I was thinking, what was the experiment that I wanted to do? Because I wanted to line something up with a dog. Oh, my board and train that I have now, Breeze, who will go off on people for handling him. I was going to record him going off on someone petting him, me punishing him, and then I was not going to post it. Then in like a week or 2 weeks, I was going to record the follow-up and only post the one where I punish him. And I was going to let that sit for a period of time where people could give their, how do we call it in dog training, criticisms about it.
Yeah.
But back in time, I will have recorded a prediction of, I bet this is what everyone's going to say. And then I was going to post that. Anyways, your idea is actually better, which is to do in reverse. So that's a Libby, that's a Libby classic. That's a Libby classic.
The other thing I do think, though, also, Dylan, is that the person, as well as needing to be open-minded, I do think that the person kind of has to feel as though they're missing something.
Yes.
And I don't know whether that was just me. So obviously the reason that I'm going,
they need to feel like they're
missing
missing
something. The reason I'm going down all
something.
these holes is because I obviously felt as though I was missing something.
So you're not going to change anyone's mind if they think they have all the answers.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, that is actually like, that is a true urgency, right? Like, there has to be a sense of, in order for us to bother to look for solutions, there has to be a perceived problem. Like, this is actually a sales thing, right? Is like, in order to sell better, you need to have people realize their problem. So like, getting them to explain their problem back to you is a super effective strategy, because then you're like, oh, here's the solution, and they're more willing to want to actually invest in that solution. So like that I think that is actually a really, really big part of where it is difficult to change people's minds, is because they are very convinced that it's going well for them. Because like you guys said earlier, they're not taking on the cases where the holes are getting shown to them as blatantly. Like, they're doing more simple pet dog training where you can have happy clients because they have a golden doodle that they can food scatter when somebody walks in, and that's like relatively sustainable, and they're kind of happy with it. But if you're working with aggression cases, what's that?
So just white coat syndrome as well. Like, if that's what a professional tells you, like, that this is the extent of, but the resolution, then
unless you're really into dog training, or you're just like one of those people that's like, I'm not accepting that. Like, I don't know, it just takes a certain type of person.
Well, and then that professional gets the good review that then perpetuate. You know what I mean? Like they don't see unhappy clients, so there's no pressure to change.
And the increase of medication. The medication also buys you time.
Yep.
So I would say there's a level of, if you're a behaviorist, and I have worked in a vet to have dogs put on medication, and now they're like, I would look back on some of those and be like, that was because it was beyond my ability to help with the skills that I had,
or what you were willing to do.
Yeah.
So
like, but I also think it does in a way buy you time. So people, because you have to wait 6 to 8 weeks for the medication to kick in, then behavior change isn't apparent. So, okay, we just have to play with the dosages. You've then bought yourself like 3 months before you even have to do anything.
Answer for anything.
And that is reductionist. Like, I do, there's like, that particularly, I find it difficult within rescue because I think when you're trying to help dogs get through the most stressful time in their lives, like using short-term, fast-acting medication, for me, I do think there is an ethical place to that.
Yeah, if you're in a super shitty, and again, like best use in human medicine as well, is like you're in a super fucked up shitty situation that we know we need to change, but we don't have the resources to change that right now. Let's numb you out a little bit to let you cope with this, and then figure out a plan that's a little more long-term solution. So like, I definitely agree with like those cases where it's like you are locked in a, bad situation.
I'd want to be sedated.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So,
like,
but
I do think that the increased use of medication, even with that's just offering it as a consult without even speaking to anybody, I think it just
for a dog that has a home with people willing to invest time and money into behavior change, and it's like, here's the solution, and it's like, what, like, that's not, it's not the best use for sure.
Definitely. But I do also think that there's a level of it makes people feel better, like you're doing something, you're giving the clients something tangible that they can do that also says you have to wait a bit for this to work. Sorry, Dylan.
It's so sad.
Look upset.
Yeah, no, it's so sad. No. I think about this stuff. I think about this. No, I think about this stuff like being literal every single day, literally every single day. And I like what do we have to do? And now I do think I'm actually very optimistic, regardless of how my outward appearance may seem, and my behavior. I do think that people have a strong bias towards dogs that are happy and like clearly have a great quality of life. And I think to your point where you're like, I think it's good more people are showing dogs. I agree. I think that if that is a trend that's happening and we're not just hallucinating it, I agree. I see the same thing. I hope that continues. I have seen 0 force-free advocates show a single dog in any meaningful sense, aside from when the random one will post a dog saying in concert with SSRIs, and then they, I descend upon them, and you know how that goes. My next question, man, what was my next question? I could get, okay. I actually wanted to respond to what you said about them not, like, people in the force-free world just avoiding the dogs that we're really interested in. I do think as a strategy on the balance side, it actually does us a disservice to constantly invoke the necessity of our methods purely based on these edge case freak dogs. Because ultimately we're framing our methods as extreme measures.
Yep.
Right. Do you guys also do normal pet obedience, or are you mainly like me where you're just kind of fucked in the head and you're like, give me the mongrels and the weirdos?
You could use some pet obedience, but I mean, it's mostly for GRC. We've got like the odd sane dog that comes to GRC, like normal, not psycho.
A Dalmatian born trainer.
Yeah.
Sorry to hear
It's
that.
just-
I'm just joking about.
Just crazy and like, yeah, his owner wants us to teach him a down at a distance. So like,
Why? Just for fun?
just because it looks cool.
Show his
He's
friends.
very
Yeah.
rich.
A lot of money.
Nice.
Got a lot of money.
Someone's got to pay for your keep, Theodore.
Exactly.
Okay.
Do you find that your approach, there's a difference in the change in your approach between like a general obedience dog versus a behavioral case dog, or are you really just across the board encompassing the new way?
Across the
Trying
board.
to. Cool.
Nothing else makes sense to us anymore. So
Yeah.
I
No,
even
you're
sometimes-
goner.
Yeah, it's all conceptual, isn't it? So that would just be,
Yes.
that wouldn't make sense.
I have to
No,
I
you're
have to try really hard to think what would I have done here.
correct. Yeah.
It's like
Yeah.
when you've left, I haven't done maths at school when I have to really try hard to do my 10-year-old's maths homework
You can do it for me.
Mhm.
sometimes. I don't-
Yeah. No, you're both goners at this point. I again I actively seek for ways to prove myself wrong, and I just cannot. If it comes along, I'll tell everybody. But like the questions that you're asking yourselves and the way that you're looking at it, it is just like, this is how could you not? It's like you can't unsee it, I guess. Is that your experience too?
Something that hit us really hard, actually, I think, was like the fallout of food.
Mm.
Uh-huh.
The whole
So yeah, we'll probably do a whole
Shout out,
podcast,
yeah.
and we have our own podcast. But particularly seeing dogs that have been constantly negotiated with,
Kennel Club.
yeah, lots
Good
of
citizen.
dogs that have done Kennel Club, good citizen, and still have to have food in front of their face to do stuff.
And then still
Or-
won't.
Or the saddest thing for us
Okay.
is seeing dogs have their play cap with food.
Oh.
Like, so lots of swapping. So you'll see with like, so our board and trade, Eli, he's a English Bull Terrier who we're getting next month. And you a couple of videos of him, didn't know, and screaming and trying to redirect him to his owner. His vet actually yesterday told him to have him reunited. So we're very excited to get our hands on him. But he had already had an 8-week board and train. The outcome of that was don't walk him, snapple mats in the garden,
Muscle training.
mother training, blow up the team. Some play, but as soon as he looks like he's enjoyed himself, stop it the food. So now he just doesn't let go. So we're going to have to do a whole lot of undoing with, because he'll kind of play for a bit and then he's like, so seeing a lot of that. Dogs only doing things because they think food is on offer. Like I've definitely found training with negative reinforcement feels quite alien to us still. There's still kind of some mixed methods, I'd say, in terms of how we're teaching the behaviours that we want before moving to negative reinforcement. But yeah, food and it like non-contingent feeding and how that can ruin dogs as well as differential and makes just unhappy, quite dysfunctional dogs.
Yeah, that's a super interesting way to put it, is non-contingent use of food, because we talk about like non-contingent use of aversives, and it's anxiety comes from a lack of predictability, right? So like whether that's coming from the good side or the bad side kind of is a little bit irrelevant. It's like an interesting way to think about it.
I've seen it become
Yeah.
dangerous in rescue
Mhm.
Mhm.
because everyone has a treat pouch, and then the dog meets somebody that doesn't have a treat pouch. They're expecting a treat. Person goes and say hello because the dog's approaching, going with my food. And we'll get it when we apply the 10 up with a treat pouch. They've already been to sometimes like 2 years worth of obedience training, and they are just, while they're talking to us, chucking food on the floor. Like that is where you know, right, we've got something I'm doing.
Or, what does your dog know? And they'll say, sit or whatever, and then we're like, oh, just call him into the heel or whatever. And they're like, oh, well, like now? I'm like, yeah, just say heel.
Hold on, my food's in my car.
Hold on, let me go and get my food. And I'm like, they're just asking. Very often we're surprised. And very rarely,
very rarely.
very rarely we're surprised.
And often known as a surprise.
Yeah, they're like, oh,
they'll call their dog to and they'll actually do it, and they'll be shocked.
and then the next rep, they go reaching food. We're like, why are you reaching food? They don't need it. They've just done it.
Yeah.
Force of habit.
Yeah, I can't believe it took 2 hours for food to come up, honestly. And like I will say that on the topic of food, I am just a knowing, willing extremist. Like I'm Malcolm X right now. And Kim is like MLK. And she has to try to like
that is
constrain
actually the essence of
we should probably just go like Magneto and Charles Xavier because we're white. So
That's
you're like Professor Xavier, I'm like Magneto. And I'm just like, I know that I'm belligerent and like hardcore. It's just that seeing the damage done, like the things you're explaining, obviously are real. Like the clients coming in, chucking food on the floor. I don't see that so much anymore just because of the people that I work with. But like that, if you do obedience training, people have been to that type of training. Like they are unconsciously just grabbing food. Like they grab it like you would twiddle your thumbs when you're bored, you know? But I guess I wanted to get to say this. There are absolutely good ways to use food. It's just not my thing. So I would say that you don't feel like you have picked up over the years, you've picked up ways to utilize food that are very useful. You should continue to use those things. You know, don't feel like regret when you're going to use food. Food can absolutely be used.
The baby out with the bathwater.
Yeah, which is what I have done, and I'm like happy about it, and I wish more people would do it. But I know that it's not like the one train. There's all tools in the toolbox. Like this actually is an example of that. I am just like super like the things you're explaining when you're like the dog waiting for the food and like that attitude that it creates actually causes me to have like a panic attack. Like I can't stand it.
Yeah. Well, again, it's the clarity like that. If you are able to use food within the framework of an overall healthy and balanced relationship, then it's totally fine. But like people create this weird I mean, we've talked about it so many times, but it turns into just a robotic Pez dispenser transaction that doesn't have any real substance to it and creates all of the fallout you just described. Or like, yeah, the dog always having to be like, you know, when is it coming? And constantly on their toes to like guess about what's happening when it's happening. Like it's that stuff that's truly the issue.
Yes.
Yeah. Like again, the whole cliche thing of like it's the user, not the tool, or whatever that that saying is. It's the same thing.
True.
Yeah,
it's true. Yeah. But to your point when you said that negative, wait, what was that?
Sorry, what was it?
Bethany
Just
said,
talking about Theo's war, and he's like, I'm going to take my opportunity to leave my crate. Back
oh, I thought Bethany said something, but maybe she was just hacking up a lung again.
No, I said to talk about. Oh, talk about Theo. Yeah, he's a really interesting dog actually. So he's like a rescue like street dog, but obviously he's not a street dog. Now he lives in a home, but he's like, how would you describe him? Like almost like primal. Yeah, as a dog, wasn't he? Like he was just so dog. And they had done like a really good job with him, working like to teach him stuff, using food. But like he was the sort of dog that would just look at you like, do you think I'm stupid? Like
he was so clever. He knew he was being bribed.
Yeah.
Like he was so clever, and
he's seen the other side. He's seen the real world. He's like, I'm too well traveled for this.
Yeah, just like everything was a negotiation and weighing up, and it was like he found the pressure actually of knowing that there was a reward at the end. Almost that intrinsic motivation took away his intrinsic motivation to enjoy anything. So
justified everything, didn't it?
Yeah, but he was like such an interesting dog. And as soon as we thought about negative reinforcement, he was like, I get it. This is my language. Fine. Cool. Like, what? You want me to lie down? I'll lie down. Like, don't try and offer me a treat for it. I didn't want the treat, and you're asking me to do it. I don't actually want to do it in the first place.
Trying to convince me that it's in my best interest that I should lie down.
And then we're going like higher and higher value.
Yeah.
And it was just like this really weird thing. But he has never been happier than being taught with negative reinforcement. Very rarely have to use the collar, but he is happier after that boundary has been set. It was a strange thing to witness, I must say.
We had a bit of a problem because we had a dodgy e-collar that was handed back to the owners. So basically, had a faulty e-collar essentially. So they just basically went a week without obviously being able to use it after he went back home.
They were a bit like, oh no,
And they were a bit like, oh no, like, I hope it's going to be okay. And they're sending us videos of him like, oh, you know, he's like, is he like this with you? He's a little bit flat, but the weather was really bad. Like, and we were just like, oh, I don't know. And then was it about 10 days after he'd been home?
as soon as the owners set the boundary with
Set
the
the boundary,
e-collar,
did a recall, he failed it, used the e-collar, literally from the next day,
their
his
relationship
whole
was
demeanour
back down. It's odd. But it is literally like speaking his language.
Yeah.
So I think it's like there are dogs that really enjoy training with food, and you can use it in quite an intuitive way.
and playful.
But I'm grateful that my that I'm being challenged on why and how I used food and being more thoughtful with it, because I definitely haven't been. It's just like using food is the
habit.
thing.
Yeah.
Yeah, we do use play, but I wouldn't say I'm like with Bulgaris, like I've always been like a massive proponent like a pug. And so even within rescue I would do talks about playing tug and most of my stuff like J Jack, but I've always been like obsessed with playing tug with dogs. Lesser vet, but I don't have cattle dogs and collies. I have
Yeah.
stuff.
Love that. Sweet.
But yeah, it's being more thoughtful about how and what you're using to reward them.
I think coming from like this doing like the sporty bits and like I guess most of the balance trainers that I suppose or even just trainers from shop that we're kind of spend time with, they're into quite flashy stuff. So there's a lot around like having lots of different reward markers, having you know, like your reward placement, like magnets in the environment, like where you might, you know, reward the dog out of the hill if you don't want them crabbing, make sure the rewards you're spinning them out and all that sort of stuff. The dog comes around you behind to get them. And I guess I'm intrigued. I guess we're still working on like kind of half because we obviously haven't done, you know, the courses we probably would like to do now that we wouldn't have considered before because they didn't fit with our ideology. But I guess there's a bit of us that's still like, I don't know how to do it as efficiently, like, yeah, just using a lead, for example, and then the reward comes out opposite. It doesn't matter when the reward gets thrown.
So, yeah, I'm
And
very
it seems
firmly
like
in the
Dylan,
camp-
sorry, Dylan, I was just going to say, it seems like the dogs that you get, and I don't know whether this is just because you're very, very good at what you do, but they look like they're coming with a lot of these behaviours installed. Like they know a middle, they know a down, they know a sit. Is that true?
No,
You teach it. Yeah. Yeah.
no, I teach the shit most of the time. I will say that sometimes they come in, like my dog that I have now, he came in knowing a sit and a down a little bit, but it's bribery. So like as soon as like if
He
you
knows
see me
what
telling
the
the dog,
association of the word of like sit means
Right.
put down, but yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
you could argue with some of the dogs though that it's actually damaging that it's been bribed because I have to go through basically this negative punishment phase where I tell them to do it and they're like, but the reward comes and it doesn't. No, so okay. When it comes to the, you know, negative reinforcement plus play goes burr thing, it, like I said earlier, like the biggest shift for me was understanding that negative reinforcement is not this next option when positive reinforcement has failed, which even on the balance side, Kimberli said it, a lot of balance people have just like wholesale subscribed to that, which it's not only are you sort of, again, framing what we do as backup options, but it's also just wrong. So like you're explaining your client dog when they just kind of like asserted themselves on one recall, and suddenly he just is like, holy fuck, why didn't somebody just say so? Like at some point along the line, there are things going on within negative reinforcement that even though I use it and I am like devoted, a zealot to negative reinforcement, there are things going on within it that I don't understand and that I can't articulate. I will just tell you that like 90% of the behaviors, like the teaching, is done with negative reinforcement. And you see what the dogs look like.
And it happens very quickly too.
So fucking fast, dude. So fast. So I think that with food, there's an illusion that it's the fastest way to teach stuff because it keeps the dog in like a lower state of arousal. Therefore, they're more cerebral and they can. I'm telling you that, and I believe that even when I was getting into play, I still believed that for a long time until I stopped being total dog shit. So like once you get through, so now I'm garbage, right? So once you get into garbage, you can start to teach things with play and negative reinforcement really fast. It will just feel, especially me, I came from a primarily food background too. It was just paired with e-collar, like low-level e-collar. It feels really clunky at the beginning. And then it becomes like, well, yeah, isn't this just what you do? Like you tell them to sit and then you help them. And then you throw the fucking ball. So like when you're talking about all the gizmos and gadgets, because I do want to get your reaction. I don't want to talk forever. The gizmos and gadgets with the magnets and you press the button, it shoots the ball. Like I have my own field that I'm in, and I don't want to speak. There very well could be sports applications that I'm just not aware of. I am very much in the camp of throw the ball. And the dogs get it.
I think if you very cleanly use negative, and I've talked about this before on the podcast. If you very sorry, and I should let our actual guest talk. I just jumped on answering that question.
This is cool, though. This is really cool. I love this shit.
But like clear negative reinforcement as event A, release to positive reinforcement reward as event B. That creates a level of clarity where reward placement starts to matter only like 1 or 2%. And people get stuck in sloppy negative reinforcement with a lot of like overshadowing and kind of problems with their clarity. Like it's not wildly specific, but that causes the dog to then drift towards the reward, and they don't have a problem with reward placement. They have a problem with their clarity and the command. And it ends up sort of band-aiding. Yeah.
I have to. It's something Bethany said earlier about the force-free side with medical issues becoming kind of this explanation. There's validity to it, but it becomes this sort of blanket explanation that we can just kind of use. I find the reward placement thing is a lack of clarity between the completion of the behavior, the release, and then the reward. Bingo. Generally, yes. They become kind of like this bowl of lasagna.
Yes.
Yeah, it's just like this. Bleh,
the dog is trying to cheat towards the reward, so then reward placement matters, and it's like, we'll stop him from trying to cheat.
So as a piece of advice that I wish I could tell myself back when I was trying to incorporate negative reinforcement, pulling back on the food, slow down and do not be afraid to verbally encourage the dog. You know what I'm saying? Like, dude, you can talk to the dog.
People are terrified to help their dogs.
Balanced people are terrified to talk to the dog.
Yes. Especially sport. Anyway, I totally just responded to Dylan's question when he totally meant that for you.
No. That was good. Yeah, that was good.
Anyway.
I wish I knew that back then, just to slow down and like be with the dog. You know what I'm saying? Negative reinforcement sucks when you treat it like people treat food, which is that they're just like not there and they're just popping a leash. It's like, of course the dog is like, dude, what the fuck is going on? Man, what did I want to ask? Have I asked everything I wanted to ask? There's no fucking way. I feel like we could go another 3 hours.
I know, that's what I was going to say. We probably should wrap it soon.
What would you say? No, I already asked that. You gave a good answer on it. Because I want to try to be unbiased to a level that's like logical about things that the balance side could learn from the force free side, even though like I actually, while I was saying that, envisioned harming myself physically. Not literally, by the way. Has there been any contact with the balance side that you felt was disappointing or maybe unhelpful, or something that could be done better from that side to sort of like welcome people into the fold and promote good training? Has there been a moment, or even just like conceptually, something where you're like, this just is not good? I don't know if that question makes sense.
I don't think there's had any negativity from balance people when we were force free or beyond, to be honest.
Even if we're training in a different way.
Yeah, like we had balance people come to our GRT club before, and they were in, like, then also probably some of our closest friends. Like, but I think one thing that I find I didn't realize was that there is as much infighting within the balanced community as there is within force free, and there seems to be a lack of understanding of what punishment actually is in terms of whether it's punishing or interrupting behavior. So it feels strange to kind of be baby balance trainers,
and no more probably than
disagreement with a balance trainer being like, yeah, but you're not actually punching your dog, and they're like, but I'm using my e-collar
At the punishment level.
And we're like, yeah, but that isn't how do you know that that's punishing your dog? Well, they stop doing it. Okay, but like, so
you need to run another trial, and it just and it ends up getting like.
So I think that's probably been the thing that's not. It's not like I'm disappointed by
but
it,
it's surprising.
Or like I already feel like I've jumped from being an outlier and
in one
fringes of one, and now I'm on fringes of another.
Yeah. Well, I think like what Dylan said about like good dog training, like that's the key, right? Is like, how do we promote good dog training? Not specifically how do we promote balance training, because that's almost become a stupid label at this point. It's like, is your dog training effective or not? And that comes with a certain package of concepts and tools and etc. But like that, I think that's like a whole nother sort of like fight in and of itself, is people thinking they're using balance training effectively and they're actually being super ineffective as well. But yeah.
And I think for me, the efficacy is so closely linked with ethics. Like that for me is like the thing that made sense in my mind, and why I could push myself outside of my comfort zone, because if it is genuinely more effective, the dog stays in that negative state of mind for a shorter period of time. Yes, there might be some momentary more acute discomfort, but I haven't seen dogs languish for years, like years and years and years. Many dogs have been kennels for 10 years, and still at the end of that were put to sleep for behavioural reasons. Like that, for me, I think that like the memes like, who radicalized you? And it's that did. It's not Dylan. Sorry, Dylan. Like that. That is actually seeing
Dylan's heart just shattered.
I know you were definitely a part of it, but
you came in like the
ineffective nature of how things have gotten, like how pressure is seen as such a bad thing, and even like physical discomfort. And I never thought I'd be comfortable with it, let alone doing it. But genuinely, if I can stop a behavior and give that dog years of like Rufio, the overseas rescue, he's now doing zoomies off lead. He's like 5 years old. He's never been off lead. He was reactive towards dogs. And we could say that, we rehabbed this dog, aggressive dog. We didn't. We just got him off lead, and that was the thing he was lacking. And now he's happily
playing with other dogs. He liked the dogs. People are coming over and like stroking him, and he obviously wasn't a massive fan of that, especially men being street dog. And yeah, it's practically like a golden retriever now. Again, like say we did lots of work on it.
We didn't.
Just
We
needed to be
literally,
off
we
lead.
literally just got him off lead and told him if we asked him to do something, he had to do it.
Yeah.
And that was it.
Solved everything. Yep.
Had 5 years, and embarrassingly, I was not the first trainer here in the
I was going to drop you in it, mate.
I put myself in it. I was the first trainer. Well, one of the first trainers they saw with him like 3 or 4 years ago, and I'm part of the. I mean, they kind of took some of the concepts and then got a bit far with the bribery, but like I am part of the reason he was miserable because of my ineffective horse retraining, because I was doing what I thought was the best thing for him, which was look at a dog, look back and get food. He did stop reacting to dogs in my defense, but at what cost? Like he still was no further toward being a happy dog. And so he might have been easier to walk, but he was nowhere near happier. He was actually probably more miserable because he felt he had less choice. So that's like efficacy and ethics are one and the same. Like they matter. Don't keep the dog on the lead for years and years and years and years. You don't have to. Get them off the lead. And off-lead freedom now means a lot more to me than I think it ever did, because I didn't really see how valuable,
How important it was. Yeah, which I think is actually really unfortunate. Like we're kind of locked into it a little bit with society, that there isn't always, like clients that don't have, don't have access to like safe off-leash spaces, live in a safe whatever. It is sometimes hard to see how drastically that can change a dog's behavior, because we're just so used to like, oh, we have dogs on 6 foot, like this is just what you do. Like you take your dog out for 2 walks a day. Like you don't play tug with them. You don't do it. Like society is just like 6 foot leash, take them on a 15-minute walk, and that's their exercise. And like people just don't realize that there is this option to give dogs another life. But then like seeing it so black and white, you're like, again, like you can't see that and go back to just walking dogs around the block in a strict heel, and that's all they get. But
I thought 3 people talk about choice so much, but then having dogs on lead, you're taking away 90% of their, maybe 99% of their choice points. And
to be honest, I do think that, I guess it's just that, again, that sort of like slant on things that like dogs are stupid, and there'll be an argument made, that dogs have the cognitive ability of a toddler, and that's why punishment is either ineffective or unethical. But then, how can a dog understand reinforcement? Then it's the same dog. It's just
You've had too much to think, miss. You're asking too many questions. No, you have to be, no, that's an entire another 2 hours. It's like any of the criticisms that you lodge at balanced training, if you turn them back on yourself, you actually are like 3 times more susceptible to everything you're saying. I could go off about the off-lead thing. I can't believe you just got me to say the word lead.
My son says leash because he's a YouTube kid. And
good, yeah. He's getting a good
I've
education.
never realized that before, lead versus leash. I've never thought about that.
I just got the British infection planted in my brain.
That's funny.
You can tell
Disgusting.
though when British people are like making it big on Instagram, they'll start saying leash because they're trying to reach a wider audience. It always really annoys me. I'm like, no, stick to your
you're
root.
from England.
Yeah.
Exactly. Although I did nearly just say about leash laws, but that is because because we don't. What I was going to say is that actually, isn't it ironic that, like, I think, well, England particularly, but I think the UK generally, we don't really have many leash laws. Like, you know what I mean? Like, dogs are allowed to.
There are certain places
on the kids' football pitch,
or like on the beach between May and September.
Tourist season.
Yeah.
It's
but
it's pretty free, which is that we don't really have dog parks and stuff, because dogs are generally allowed to be off lead wherever, really. Like there might be little bylaws and stuff, or like signs that your dog on lead says cattle and that one thing.
Right, but it's very reasonable. Yeah,
but they have now. There's new laws coming in that are increasing protection of livestock in the UK. So, yeah, increasing the protection, adding in things like if the dog is found to be, we call it worrying livestock, your dog can be seized, they've taken away fines. But in the same fines, yes, taking away the limit of fines. In the same legislation, they're also talking about banning the e-collar.
Right.
It's just wild to me. Like you're increasing the risk massively if you're removing that reliability. It's when Libby told her parents, like, we had it coming out to our parents as well, like, we use the e-collars now, Mum, Dad.
Not that my mum don't give a shit. They're not. My dad likes, but they're not like people.
That's what we found actually. Dog people that aren't dog trainers don't seem to like. They're like, oh, okay.
Yeah, I just need, like, around deer, explain the situation. And I said, oh, it's got 100 levels and this, that, and the other. And I said, obviously, I'm not going to need all of that. No, it's really good. It's just this one situation. My mum said, well, I hope you'd use the highest level if it was a baby deer. And I was like, she's just like, she's just like the average person, like,
yep.
And my mum's a really kind person, but she's just like, she hasn't got any.
There's no baggage of,
nothing.
Yep.
It's so grounding. It's so grounding when you talk to normal people that like can think straight. Like if you talk to dog trainers for too long, you start to lose your mind. Like you actually become retarded if you talk to dog trainers for too long. And then you go outside and you talk to someone that just like owns a dog. They're like, well, yeah.
Of course I tell them no. Yeah.
I swatted him on the nose.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like, wow, you don't have to fucking apologize for that. Like it's just it's a total clown world. But I think that your mom's based. I didn't know I was going to say. Didn't think I was.
She will not know what that means, but I'll let her know.
I don't.
Yeah, your mom's based. So I think that I've gotten out of my system. You guys had really good answers, really interesting things to chew on.
Mm-hmm.
Kim, did you have anything else that you were really wanted to get?
Yeah, I mean, I guess like the little bit of a silly question, but like if you were queen of the world and could make anything happen in dog training, like what would you what plan would you put in place to try to like promote good like is there anything like you want to say that we kind of missed without a direct question in terms of like how to sort of address I was going to say like battle strategy, right? But like I'm just curious if there's any like last sort of thoughts on that with like balance versus force free and all that stuff. But
I think there are some people that you're just never going to change their minds because they don't want their minds changed and they're not actually thinking of the dogs even though they pretend that they are. Mm-hmm. It's ego, it's work, it's comfort, it's all of those things. I'd encourage people to be open-minded and genuinely, if you think you have a really strong opinion about something, get to know everything you can about it so that you can argue your point really well.
Well, that's the first rule, isn't it? In debate is that you're supposed to learn the other side's arguments really well, and that's how you figure out where you sit.
So don't think just because you have a degree or that you're a clinical animal behaviorist that you know everything about balance training. I used to think balance trainers were thick. Like I thought they were less intelligent. I was like, because it is. I mean, there's a whole deep thing of that. I think dog training is incredibly classist as well. There's like an academic element to who's allowed to consider themselves a good dog trainer.
Yes,
but I don't know what it's like in America, but in the UK, there's like the gold standard of being a clinical animal behaviorist. You can only get to that through academia. There are like some really complex paths that you can get to it if you've done other courses, and you can put them all together and like a puzzle of knowledge. But you've got to have a lot of money, a lot of time, a lot of energy, probably not be training that many dogs to have the time and the energy and the money in order to get these qualifications. And like, maybe there are some good ones. I haven't met that many, and I've met a lot. So like, I am probably biased against that kind of more academic side of it, even though I did start on that journey, and I was like, of course I want to be a cab because that's the gold standard. But the closer I got to that gold standard, the more I just saw the flaws in it. And I was like, no, I don't want to be gold standard of theory. I want to be gold standard of practical application, of hands-on with the dogs. Like, I could have gone more into academic side of things, but I just didn't. I have dogs. That's why I'm here. So yeah, I think if you are, I think you just have to know both sides and be genuinely open-minded, and don't look down on balanced trainers, because I think there's an incredibly intelligent training happening when you look at balanced training.
Very intelligent, very creative. Yeah, and that was a conversation we had to have with ourselves. Like, yeah, actually, this is some of the most intelligent, creative. Like, once we'd opened our mind, and we were like looking at things with a more open mind. Yeah, that was.
Yeah.
Balance trainers aren't thick.
No. And like, there's particularly a depth of emotional intelligence. I mean, like Dylan was kind of talking about it before with like the way that like food training, when you first start using negative reinforcement, if you look at it through the lens of food training and that kind of transactional nature, and it's like, we'll just help the dog. And like, that takes a degree of like empathy and compassion and like a ton of really like pro-social emotional intelligence skill set that isn't obvious until you're like, oh wait, like people like throw around the whole like, oh, read the dog, and like, but it really is quite deep. Being able to actually balance, hey, I can put a lot of pressure on you but still make you feel good at the end of the day, or like, I can put pressure on you to purposely make you feel bad for a second, but then we can recover, and like rupture, repair, that kind of thing is actually it's not easy to do and takes a lot of depth and like self-reflection to sort of like be able to get to that place. So yeah, it's an interesting
Balanced training is an incredibly exciting place to be. There is so much shit going on. Like there is, like, every day I am reminded that I'm bad. You know what I mean? And that's exciting. I think that's like really exciting, because it's like, wow, I can't even see the finish line. You know what I mean? That it's cool. It's cool to have you guys on board, for real. Thank you for your service, your ongoing service. And yeah, I mean, you guys are definitely better people than me, which is cool. Which is also very chill, because I couldn't help but be like, the thought that people would have scorn for you wanting to like grow up and actually learn how to train dogs. It's just like crazy to me. So the fact that you're not like driven insane by that is, I think, a testament to your maturity.
I think we totally believed in it, and so like, we're ready to whatever happens next. And we have each other. So we work together every day with, like, all we talk about is dogs. Like, there's not a whole lot more to us.
We do sometimes play Scrabble.
We do like Scrabble and like quizzes, but we're like, this is our lives, and it's like everything that we want to do. So, yeah, it was like, right, we're gonna have to just take it rough with the smooth, and
I think just accepting, acknowledging that, like, in a year's time, in 2 years' time, in 5 years' time, obviously we're going to be in a different place still, and we're going to look back, just like we're looking back now at some dog and thinking, I could have helped that dog like more, even though the owners are happy with the result, whatever it is, I know I've done better.
Constantly pushing the bar, yeah.
And then it's just like, it's a strange career in a way, isn't it? Or vocation, if you want to call it that, like where you want to get better each year, but that every year you get better, it means you've got to look back and think, I didn't do a good enough job.
For real. Yeah. Like I'm constantly embarrassed and ashamed of like the shit I said yesterday.
It's
crazy.
Literally.
Yeah. It's one of the downsides of the podcast. I'm like, oh damn, I don't want to have that on record, how stupid I was, but here we are.
But like the things that I've constantly, even throughout this podcast, have to stop myself being British and polite and being like, oh, but there are some good towards people. Oh, but I know, but a lot of people are doing this, but I'm not, like, I'm still almost like apologetic person that I was, like, and like, because I know people are going to listen to things and twist what we're saying and say, oh, she's saying that you shouldn't get your dogs medically checked because it's an excuse. And how did that?
Doesn't believe in behavior medicine.
Yeah, I know, like, I know that kind of stuff. And so everything in me wants to, like, go, I didn't mean it. I didn't mean it.
Yeah. So
conflicts, but
I strongly recommend trying to maintain your humanity.
How do you suggest me to do that, Dylan?
I don't know, because I don't know. So I will say that standing up for yourself is good. And also being angry can be appropriate.
Libby's better at that than I am. She's the one that's now getting sassy and back on people's socials, and I'm happy for her to be our voice.
Well, I mean, I am very much in the camp of focus on the dogs. You know what I mean? Which is ironic because I'm told by people that don't train dogs to focus on dogs, but it actually is my focus, and I recommend you make that you remain with that being your focus. I don't actually believe that everyone needs to be out there punching people in the face. Like you're talking about these, like the academic class and the behavioral world, and like I'm just imagining pushing these people into lockers and like laughing and shit, because that's what they need and it's what they deserve. But I don't actually think everyone needs to be out there doing that. Like, do I think that these people should be afraid to step outside of their homes? Yes, absolutely. But I don't think that we all need to be out there fighting that battle. I think that just like continuing to get better at dog training and advocating, unapologetically advocating for good methods, Bethany, like you were saying, the direct link between ethics and efficacy, that needs to be something we need to just be 10 toes down. No, dude, I'm telling you, the best thing for the dogs is the best thing for the dogs. And I'm not apologizing for that. And I'm going to show that.
Like,
you know
aggressively hold the line. That doesn't mean you have to like go out and actually fight, but like.
Right.
Yeah.
Like, was I up at like 7 a.m. making an infographic memeing on Denise Fenzi? Yes, I was. I didn't click publish on it. I'm saving it. I'm going to keep that heater tucked away until, a rainy day. But really, like, hey man, like don't let people convince you that you're crazy. That goes for anybody that's training dogs. That's trying to get better and is being honest about their capabilities and doing their best every day. If you see something working, don't let people convince you you're insane, because they will try to do it.
Work on that every day, because there is still like my algorithm is still all over the place. And so one post and one thing I'm seeing in one day, it's like I know the truth. Like I can finally see, and then the next post would be somebody calling me an abuser, and the pet pain couldn't possibly have a place in dog training. Like all of those things, and I have to really like fight, dig deep to be like, no, I'm literally seeing it.
I know all that rhetoric. I knew it when I made this decision.
Yeah, I said that. I used to say those things, not because they were the truth, but because that was what I'd heard was the truth. And like that is the courses that you're doing tell you that's the truth. So Yeah, it's
So
and I really think people need to understand contingency, because that for me was the thing that clicked. Because there are studies, and I've obviously been hearing about studies that you're using like negative methods, for want of a better term, and positive, that actually the dog ends up more confused and that's worse for the dog, and aggression levels were higher.
Oh, and the mixed method
approach. But actually, like, people, that the way that was explained to me as part of the seminar was, if you're using a balanced approach and you're also using treats, that's bad, because the dog doesn't know if you're a nice person or you're a bad person. But actually, it's the contingency, it's the thing that matters the most. Like, the dog has to know why, on both sides of the coin, why what's happening to them is happening. And I think something that Jay Jack said that has stuck with me always, and I probably tattooed on me or something, or a mural on my wall, like, you're doing it for them, not to them. And even though that is for me, is I always want to be doing stuff for dogs. Like, ultimately, this is for you, for your happiness, and for people.
They are important too in the equation, aren't they, the owners?
The owners and the public at large, I'm doing this for you, but also for everybody else that has to come into contact with you. So, that is, for me, that's really important. It's for them.
Yep. She's really good at those one-liners.
Yeah,
he's just the best person in the whole wide world.
So something Kim said to me a while ago that kind of blew my head off. When someone tells you that you punished that dog out of wrath or ego or some brash knee-jerk emotional reaction, they're actually telling on themselves. They themselves, because this is what Kim said, and again, just crazy, they couldn't imagine using punishment in a way that wasn't out of control and from a place of pure selfishness. They couldn't imagine voicing displeasure in a constructive way, because all they know is explosion. So they're assuming that's where you're coming from, when it's clearly not fucking true. It's just clearly not fucking true. And that's an easy test, I think, for anybody to pass that has the right motivations. It's why am I doing this with this dog? What are my intentions? You know what I mean? And it's hard. It's really, I don't want to close on a sour.
I was just going to say, I was just going to say that you might know it, Dylan, but I think it's Damn Good Dog Training. She's just started doing a series. It's very short.
Yes, I saw that this morning. Yes.
Yeah.
So good.
Just the punishment. I mean, the comment section will probably make you want to die, but in and of itself, it's a really good idea. Short snippets. It's just a punishment event, essentially, followed by the dog's the next day. And she's got a series on it. Actually, one a day, I think. And it's quite palatable in the sense that you get to see the outcome very quickly.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean,
and it's not a brutal oh my gosh, I'm smashing the dog over the head with a brick. It's
no.
The one this morning was her tapping the dog on the nose and popping on a 2-inch flat buckle collar. Yeah.
No, Chanel's a day one rider, as we call them in the States. I actually don't think anybody says that. No, she's a day one rider. Don't yeah. Don't let people when you're talking about your feed just constantly giving you conflicting information and people telling you directly to not believe what's happening in front of you. We have a big advantage, guys. The people that care about dogs and care about training well. Dog training has a severe reality bias. So what matters in reality? It's the result with the dog, right? That the dog is the judge ultimately, and you really can believe what they're telling you. I promise you, you're not hallucinating, right? A dog is not chasing a ball because he's afraid you're going to beat him. I'm telling you, that's not. whatever some sociopath, probably in another country, that charges $800 to do a phone consultation and tell people to kill their dogs. It doesn't matter what they say. Okay, they're bad people. They don't care. You should care about the dog, and you do. So trust him. I didn't want to get like angry and sad at the end. That's why I'm like deliberately trying not to bring up rescue to close it out, because I know I'm gonna get really sad. But yeah, I mean,
Rescue
I
is the most
wish
important thing, though, and it's a reflection of society in itself. So
the way
I'd
that we
always bring
treat
up
the most
rescue.
vulnerable dogs, yeah, the way that we treat the most vulnerable dogs, and the way that people want us to thank them for the things that they're doing to the dogs, and they're all force-free advocates, every single one of them. But I'm not gonna do it.
So it's more that the efficacy and ethics piece
Yeah.
that's the most prevalent. It should be the most prevalent in rescue, and it's
Right.
the least.
The least, yeah, and it's just the nature of the fact that you could say this, and someone will ask for a peer-reviewed study on it, and people expect me to be nice about that. Yeah. Again, maintain your humanity. Stick up for the dogs. Stand up for yourself, please. Stand up for yourself. This goes for anybody actually don't interact with a lot of like online dog training spaces, because they are all terrible. And the ones that don't feel terrible just haven't revealed themselves to you yet. That's what I found. Yeah, don't believe, like, if you're learning something from someone, this is just a good, like, they don't know everything. Like, I'm in a constant state of questioning people, and including myself. And I think that regardless of what you're doing in training, that is just a good thing to do, which I'm preaching to the choir, because you guys have like overhauled so much. But it is an exciting place to be. And you just got to get reps, trust the dogs, and ask for help, because that's what I do. I know that's what Kim does. Yeah. Talk and then like talk to people. What's up?
Love for you to give some feedback on our last
Oh
video.
yeah, I love the videos.
I wish you guys were just like down the road, because I would just walk
I know.
over.
I know, so do
This
we,
dog is
Dylan.
so fucking weird.
It's so weird. But we're like,
Shanae's been trying to get me to cross the pond.
Come on.
Yeah, I don't know. The whole driving on the other side of the road thing, I'm just gonna wreck something.
get you an Uber.
Yeah. Maybe no. Kim and I will come out and we'll do a live show from your facility.
Yeah.
We'll do it for episode.
And then
right?
Gavin can drive on the wrong side of the road.
Exactly. Yep.
Yeah.
You're braver.
Yep.
But for real, it's unfortunate also that we have to commend like the willingness to take a social penalty for wanting to get better at training dogs. It's just fucking crazy. But taking those blows, yeah, I mean, genuinely, thank you. And the dogs, they would thank you if they could. But yeah, this is a really cool one to do as a first. I would not like to be the follow-up show for a guest. Whoever you are in the future, it's gonna be scary to beat this type of topic. Yeah.
Fun.
We'll do another one.
Yeah. No,
Yeah,
thanks for coming on, guys. It's good.
Check in with us in a few months' time if you want, and see
Yeah.
when we made it back over to the dark side.
Yeah, right.
Hey, we'll delete the show. We'll delete the episode. We'll put up a show to respond to everything. It'll be crazy. Actually, that'd be great. That'd be great for content if you guys want to do that, like on the low key. That'd be actually sick. But yeah, for real, guys. Thank you for coming on.
When the video goes home, we'll check in again and tell you how we did it.
Beautiful.
Because I don't know if we'll meet many dogs like him. I think everyone likes to think they've got them once in a career dogs, but we've had a couple in quite quick succession. Theo.
Listen, until you put gear on and you let the dog choose, you don't know what you have. And that dog is cracked. Like for real.
Yeah, he's meant to.
Correct.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No bite history there.
You've got the right thing. You've got the real thing. I mean, you've got the real thing.
Oh yeah, absolutely not the case.
Yeah.
You look so cute right now.
He looks really cute.
He is a savage. Yeah, thank you so much. Really appreciate it.
Yeah,
Loved it.
absolutely. Awesome. Well,
Thanks
thanks
for coming on,
guys. We'll keep in touch. Talk to you later.
See.